We're here! Whee!
Yay!
Hello.
Hi, buddy.
Look.
Good evening, Masha.
Look who this is.
Hi.
We're in the same place.
Crazy. And apparently Nick is with Pip in an airplane.
Yes. Pip's not saying much there,
Pip is frozen.
which is unusual for him. Oh, at
He needs
least
to. He needs to stop his camera, restart it. Obviously.
he did that on the way home. Actually, he demonstrated a practice force landing.
Did he? On purpose?
He said practice.
Oh, practice.
Yes, a purpose on purpose
Well.
practice force landing.
Not just a force landing.
Oh no, we lost the connection to Clean Feed again. Why?
I feel like it's my internet connection. I'm sorry. I don't know why it's so terrible today.
Well, as I said, you know what? I can always, but I need to make sure that I plug this in.
I'm just going to turn you guys up for my feed.
Are we still quiet?
Are we still too quiet?
Well, I've turned you up. You're not too quiet now. I'm quite
Okay.
loud, but everybody, how do the audio sound level sound from me
compared
and
to-
for the other two?
And we'll wait about 25 seconds or so, and we'll get the answer.
Well, that's pretty loud.
Thank you.
It's loud in my ears too. I just watched it.
Yes, I know. It's not loud now.
No, he did that. She needed both of us.
Jerk.
That's why I should never have given full controls to everybody.
Especially
him.
not Nick.
Yeah.
You have control.
Okay. So,
So you thought. Zero control.
it's like
It's
a
all right.
big-
Nick is already getting one
like-
letter from HR for
How tall are
pre-show
you,
shenanigans.
Just
How tall
tag
are
it
you,
on the
Nick?
bottom.
I'll just keep adding pages.
How tall are you, Nick? 6'3"?
6'2".
6'2", a 6'2" toddler.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be back in nappies before you know it.
Did you see that?
I saw that. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, very clever. Yeah, we caught your single finger salute. Maybe he didn't even mean to do it.
I think it
Probably
was
not.
unintentional.
Oh, okay. How's the exposure on the video camera, Nick? While you're, yeah, yeah, it's quite prominently. I think what he's saying is, we're number one.
That's right. You're number one.
Yeah, the exposure's fine on the camera overall, sir.
Okay. Liz, say something. I think we've lost you on the clean feed. Yeah, I can't hear you. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Darn it. Darn it.
Yeah,
Darn
5 for me, and you guys are a bit low.
Well, Masha thought you were a loudmouth.
Yeah, that's very true, Masha.
Okay.
It's often been said.
Let me go over here to this.
But-
and I'm already,
You're already at 100.
My
200.
mum knew that the moment I was born.
and you are, here, I'll bump up yours.
Well,
a
it's
little bit.
knock. Who's knock?
Why don't you say something?
Something?
Is that better from Steph?
Nah, there's no significant difference.
I don't know why not.
It's something to do with the volume,
I think it's something to do with StreamYard's volume and not.
Well, I can do something, but it's going to mess up the music. But I don't really care.
Neither do I.
Okay. So let me go here, and this is going to change everything. In fact, we're going to be probably too loud. Okay. How about now?
How about now?
Well, that sounds good. That sounds about right, actually.
Okay.
How about everyone else? What do you think?
So we can probably go down to normal volume on this.
You've just gone quiet again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's because he's turning down the volume now.
I just
Yes, that
figured
might have
the,
something to do with
I
it.
thought the audio processing would take care of that, but apparently not.
Well, actually, I don't know. Perhaps you're just not leaning into your mic. I don't know.
Well, I'm like pretty close to it.
Are you?
Hello,
Okay.
hello.
That's a lot better. Yeah.
I feel like I have to lean into it because this mic stand is not very tall. Like,
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't know
I
how
don't. You can go get your.
No.
Yeah.
Not doing that.
Okay.
I'll just lean forward the entire time and be
I have a bad
sore
back.
back. Yeah.
Oh, and your feed's flickering. What's that
Why
about?
is ours flickering?
I just got some flickering of your video, but what do I know?
Well, I don't know. It couldn't be the green screen because we're not using it.
No, exactly. No, it was only occasional, and it stopped now.
Okay. So is my volume still too low?
Yeah, what's the current level of volume, everybody?
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Jeff. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And this is Nick going, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells that she sells are seashells, I'm sure.
Why is this not working?
I don't know.
Oh, no.
It's trying to work.
Oh,
I'm hoping I have some. Maybe I just shut it down completely and it's got a full.
Kelly says it sounds good. Barry says all volumes sound good. Nick sounds good. Jeff is louder now. Oh, make up your mind, everybody.
Too loud?
No, fine.
Not to
Everything's
me,
fine.
No? We're all fine. Everything's marvelous.
Everything's
Come on.
fine. Just don't touch it.
Yeah.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. We're good. Okay, but I'm still not getting Yeah, I guess we're going to just have to message the old-fashioned way, Liz. I don't know why we're not. It's the same internet that one's on, but it's better to have that one connected than this one connected. So we'll just. Well, I guess you're not going to be able to hear Liz.
Well, that's a bummer.
Wait a minute. Okay, if I can find power for this,
I can get power free for that.
I have. Let's see. Where is that thing?
I can't hear Jeff very well now.
He's gone all quiet again.
Yeah, Jeff.
I wonder why.
Speak a bit louder, Jeff.
He's looking for a power cord. There's one here.
Yes, there's one right here.
I don't know where he's going to plug it into because it seems that all available power outlets have been utilized.
Ah. Well, he's usually got a few spare holes to stick things in.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
This?
Yeah. Thank you. Now. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
do you need another extension cord?
No, I don't need it up here actually.
Okay.
Just need to get the hot spot. And okay. And now I just hope we can find the hot spot.
Like your
Send back
hotspot.
time.
Hotspot name.
Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
Pips finally has spotted the green screen tonight.
Oh, I saw his comment. Yeah, he said, please remove that picture immediately or something like that.
Okay, Liz, I think we're on clean feed.
There
Beautiful.
you are.
Yay. Using the phone hotspot for that. We should probably, before it gets any worse, probably just start.
Agreed.
Yeah, by all means.
Okay.
The recording?
Of course not. Oh, actually, we are. Yeah,
Okay.
we're recording.
Recording.
And it looks like, okay.
Yes, mine is different now.
Okay.
Do you want me to record?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since it's just the three of us. I mean, everybody that's participating is recording.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
recording.
Okay.
Do you want
Excellent.
You want the clap?
I'd rather not. Okay.
Up to you.
3, 2, 1.
Comes free.
Is it
Okay.
usually that far off?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I'm always laughing.
It's comically not close.
Not close at all. Liz agrees. It's funny every week.
Right. Are you actually going to start, or have I got time to pour another gin and tonic?
Oh, it'd probably be a good idea if we told him no. That
Yeah, we're going to start. No more gin and tonic for the moment.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, you'll have
Wait
to
until
wait.
at least intermission.
All right, Liz, you ready? All right, here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from...
Oh, by the way, he's going to say the wrong day because we were supposed to be recording yesterday, but don't pay attention to that part. Okay.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy episode 440.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy show, the view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's recorded on the 26th of August, 2020.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and it's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a private pilot dies while taking off in Rockford, Illinois. A man drives his car under a taxiing aircraft in Portland, Oregon. More news, your feedback, and in today's plane tale, the band played on. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 440 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He is an Emmy Award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds, New York City. Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. And joining me today from her lakeside home in the Carolinas, she's a doctor, skydiver, marathon runner, strength training junkie, IPA connoisseur, and commercial multi-engine instrument-rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
Hey, Captain Jeff. Welcome to the lakeside home in the Carolinas.
It's great to
Good
be
to have
here.
you here.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on with this young man from across the pond in his studio in the English countryside, professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired captain for an international airline based in London. It's Captain Nick.
Well, hi there, you two. It looks like you're rubbing shoulders in the lakeside villa. Have
We
a
are.
nice time.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I'm here with Dr. Steph in her lovely lakeside cottage. But before we talk more about that, let's talk about this, the news.
Stand by for news.
All right, the first incident here. Well, you know what? We have a news report. Liz, if you'll go ahead.
But we begin tonight with an update on breaking news, a story we first brought to you at 5 o'clock. We now know this plane crashed while taking off from Chicago Rockford International Airport this afternoon, then caught fire. The pilot was the only person on board the King Air twin-engine plane. The pilot, we've learned, did not survive. The plane can typically hold 6 to 12 passengers. The FAA is expected on scene shortly.
Local CBS affiliate in Chicago. And this was an accident that occurred at the Rockford International Airport in Rockford, Illinois, not too far from Chicago. Not really in Chicago,
Not
but I guess it's
Chicago.
a Chicago area, sort of.
So Chicagoland is like all of northern Illinois at this point, I'm pretty sure.
Ah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Like if you're anywhere in North Georgia, you're in Atlanta?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So this was a Beechcraft 200 Super King Air and was taking off from, even though the article says runway 1, it was actually taking off from runway 19. And something happened. They think that it was an engine failure. And the pilot, I think it was after he lifted off. Does it say which engine failed on this one? I don't think it does. But it may have been the critical engine, which would be the left engine. And looks like he couldn't control the airplane. And the airplane had been in maintenance recently, and they're not sure if that had something to do with the accident or not. But it seems like we talk a lot about King Airs losing engines and shortly after takeoff and crashing. Well, in the past couple of years, we've talked about it several times in the show. So yeah, sad incident.
I'm not familiar with the type, not really having a lot of piston time. So is this particular aircraft prone to or difficult to control at low speed with an engine out?
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't have counter rotating props, so it's going to be more susceptible if it's that critical engine that fails.
Yeah,
just like any other twin.
Yeah,
turboprop.
It's just from your and my world, Jeff. An engine fails for takeoff is just something you do and practice so often. I find it always a bit distressing when you hear of a pilot that gets caught out by it.
Yeah, me too. Because I think the airline is certified to be able to fly single engine. I'm not sure how the certification standards work with airplanes that size. And the King Air 200, I believe, it does not require a type rating. I think we talked about this.
We've talked about this
earlier
to be honest,
show.
I
think
don't know
it's
about
under
that
12,500.
Yeah,
pounds.
yeah. If it's under 12,500 pounds, it's just. I mean, sounds like there was just the one pilot on board. So
yeah,
I would assume.
I don't know what the standards are as far as certifying the airplane with an engine failure, but I would imagine that it should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're above blue line there, you might maintain that speed. And
yeah, the blue line for sure. What's that?
so on your multi-engine small aircraft, you're going to have.
I'm getting pretty close to the blue line right here in my beer.
Yeah, we actually just talked about this not too long ago. But that's your.
We did.
Oh.
I guess I wasn't paying attention.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's your VMCA, is it? Minimum control speed airborne.
What that is.
Oh, I know what VMCA is. That's all y'all had to say.
Yeah, well, they didn't have room.
I didn't know it was
right.
blue line. Okay,
They didn't have room to write VMCA all the way across the airspeed indicator for you, Jeff. So they just put a blue line there.
Let me continue with the news article.
Then we'll go back to blue line.
Thank you. Although I'm thinking of opening up a bar. I'm going to call it the Blue Line. Let's see. The one person on board was not able to get out of the aircraft and died. The pilot was the only person on board. Witnesses said that they saw the plane bobble just after takeoff, after crashing and catching fire. And I think he was the owner of some kind of a pilot training group. And but he wasn't an instructor himself, and he was picking up the airplane, I think, ferrying it back. I don't know where I found all that information because it's apparently not in this article that I'm looking at right now. So anyway, if we hear anything else about this incident, we'll certainly let you all know. Now, were you going to say something else?
No.
Okay. Item B. Yeah, let's play the video. Thank you, Liz.
Well, from the roads to the sky, it was a daring act at the Mackinac Bridge. Michigan State Police, the Coast Guard, now seeking information about a pilot who flew a plane under the mighty Mac in June. Investigators are hoping somebody has some type of photo or video of that plane. It went under the bridge June the 28th at about 2:50 in the afternoon. There were hundreds of cars on the bridge. There were people driving on the bridge when this thing went underneath.
Wish we had video of this.
State police say it was extremely reckless behavior, and
if only we
anybody
had
with
some
information
video.
should now contact
Anybody
state police
has
or
some
the U.S.
cell
Coast
phone
Guard.
video?
Yeah. Perhaps they should have a word with WWJ.
We're watching on the video podcast. We're watching video that somebody's taken of this airplane. Actually, I just thought it was funny. He was saying, "Well, if anybody, it would be nice if we had some
I guess
photographs."
maybe if they had better quality
Higher
video,
resolution.
higher resolution,
Yeah,
so they could
okay.
see what that
Yeah, they
tail
just
number
want the
was.
guy's registration. That's all they
Yeah.
want.
It looked like a
Apparently
pretty.
couldn't make it out from that
It
video.
looked like a pretty distinctive airplane to me. It was a tail dragger. Oh, maybe not.
I mean, it looked
Steph's
like
looking
a
at me like I
small
don't think
single
so.
engine.
To me, it looked just like the Spirit of St. Louis. So
It
I
may have been the
need to
Spirit
look
thing.
for a guy called Lindbergh.
Yes, and I don't think St. Louis is anywhere near the Mackinac Bridge.
Okay.
Or the
Uh,
Mackinac Bridge.
The airplane
It's
made it all
lost.
the way to France, and that's not anywhere
Well,
near the
that's true.
Mackinac Bridge.
Good point. Good point. Anyway, Michigan State Police and the U.S. Coast Guard are investigating, seeking information about the pilot who flew the small plane under the Mighty Mac Bridge. Yes, investigators are hoping someone in the public, as we said, or have a photo or better video. Oh, better video than what we just saw. That might help them identify the plane that went under the bridge on Sunday, June 28th at around 2:50 p.m. You know, I thought it looked pretty cool, though. I didn't think it was that dangerous looking to myself, and I would love
they're
to do
calling it
something like that
extremely
someday.
reckless. I don't think it was as
Pretty big
dangerous.
Yeah,
bridge.
so you know those things, those guidelines about not flying below certain altitudes in crowded
Those are
areas.
just guidelines.
You know, that's
Are
not
those really
important at all.
those
Yeah.
rules? I mean, can you get in trouble for
yes,
that? Oh,
yes.
okay.
According
Well,
to the
compared
FAA.
with flying a Hunter jet fighter through Tower Bridge, I think that's
Right.
pretty tame. That is.
I
I mean, that
agree.
bridge is enormous.
I know.
And
I
I
agree.
think if he hit it, that he's just going to go crumple, crumple, crunch. I don't think it's going to do the bridge a lot of damage, but there you go.
I think maybe
I don't think
we-
they were worried about the bridge or this particular pilot. I think they were worried about the potential danger he was posing to people who were not involved
what, like in case somebody was like jumping off the bridge and they may actually hit
or
the airplane
on the
way
bridge
down.
or
Oh, the drivers might be distracted. Of course they won't.
There we go. So I guess, Steph, could you do a public service announcement regarding this?
please do not fly your small aircraft underneath large bridges.
That is from the official PSA from
That
the
gives
Airline
all the
delegation.
people with big airplanes absolute freedom to fly under bridges. So go to it, guys and girls. Just have at it.
Second PSA: don't fly any aircraft
Wait,
underneath
breaking
a bridge
news,
of
we have
any
an
size.
amended PSA.
L1 to my previous statement.
Don't fly any type of airplane under a bridge unless you have special permission, or any bridge.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's best we move on to this next one before we get in any more trouble. This is quite interesting. A man has been arrested in Portland, Oregon, after he drove his family onto an active taxiway. They were in a car, by the way, under a moving aircraft.
He wasn't using a
not like a
bullwhip.
bicycle, or yeah, like
Or driving.
On you
driving
go,
them.
on you go.
That's what came to mind when I was reading that sentence. Actually. The incident, which occurred on Sunday, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, maybe, or last week, was swiftly resolved by county police, with the perp incurring criminal charges. Here's what happened. The incident happened on Sunday, the 16th, excuse me, now that I can adjust my lens, I can see it more clearly. Just after 1937 local time, involved a family of 4 in their sedan. According to reports, a vehicle crashed through gates at the north side of Portland Airport after coming off a nearby road. I'm hearing beeping sounds. Oh, okay. Oh, Liz had left us, but she's back. Okay, great. Okay. No problem. I'll just pretend like I didn't hear a thing. Where was I? Okay. The driver, a father with his wife and 2 young children, obliged when they were asked to stop. The airport called police to the scene, and the culprit initially cooperated with their inquiry. The driver of the vehicle told police, now I can understand this whole thing now. He had been left without options after he was being chased by several trucks on the highway. Portland Airport was his only opportunity to escape. His only, he's
the only
driving.
place he
So
could go.
look, You're with your family. You want to protect your family. You're in your sedan. You're driving down the road, and these trucks out of nowhere are trying to run you down.
How fast
What do you do?
these
You're
trucks go in the States?
You're right. They're fast.
Oh,
I don't
must
know.
be.
Like 65 miles an hour?
Have you ever seen the movie Duel?
No.
Isn't that what it was called? Somebody
Duel?
help me in the chat room. It's an old movie, 60s movie, and it's set in the Mojave Desert, I think. And there's and what's his name? There's a famous actor that was in this film. One of his earliest.
Duel? I'm going to have to look it up.
I think it's called
no
Duel.
idea.
Here, let me go to the chat room here to see if anybody's helping me out.
No one's helping.
They're just going to let me
Queen.
hang. Thanks a lot. You chat room people, you. Yeah, I know. Look it up. Do you see anything about Duel? 71. Okay. So it wasn't as long ago as I thought. Steven Spielberg movie. That was one of his first big movies. Dennis Weaver is the guy that I was thinking of. Thank you. Liz is telling me all this stuff in my ear. Thank you, Liz. You're a lifesaver. And it was called Duel, right?
A mild-mannered electronic salesman is driving cross-country on a two-lane highway when he encounters an old oil tanker driven by an unseen driver who seems to enjoy annoying him with dangerous antics on the road.
It's really it's a frightening movie. I mean, you should watch it. I know it's an old movie, but this truck is like trying to run this guy down in the desert. Yeah, Jennifer, come on. Yeah.
So does Pip.
Truck chasing after this guy. Yeah. So anyway,
that's what was happening
like.
here?
This is what is happening.
He was in a Steven Spielberg movie being chased by trucks on the highway.
No, but like real. He wasn't in the movie. This is like happening for real. And these trucks were trying to run him over. And apparently he was near the airport. And the only option that he had was to escape, was to actually go onto the airport property. So they stopped him, and he was cooperating with them. He was speaking with the officers. He was 24 years old. Let's see. He returned to his vehicle and then drove off with one of his children. I think his favorite child.
Not you. You.
He left his wife and the child that he really doesn't like very much at the airport.
He didn't like his wife either, come to that.
Exactly. And he headed straight underneath a moving aircraft that was taxiing to the runway. Thankfully, the sharp wit of the pilot.
Oh, those sharp-witted pilots.
Sharp wit of the pilot meant that no one was harmed. The aircraft stopped while the sedan carried on, coming to rest at Portland Airport's E-gates, according to a report shared with Simple Flying. So apparently they were able to get the perpetrator out of the vehicle. I think he accidentally fell down a few times onto the tarmac. and he was, I made that part up, but I can imagine there was probably a little bit of a ruckus going on there after they got him out of the car. Anyway, police arrested the driver, placed him in the Multnomah, maybe county jail.
Multnomah?
They later charged him with 3 felonies: criminal mischief, attempt to elude, and assaulting a police officer. See, when they were taking him out of the car, I think he assaulted the police officer. So that's one of those things you hear about all the time.
Is
that
it?
kind of story? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Thankfully.
I
Kind
want
of
to
a
know how he
strange
was
one.
able to just drive his car onto the airfield. I mean, did they have
He
open
crashed
gates?
through a fence onto
Yeah.
the airfield, is what it
Oh,
says.
did he?
Broke
Yeah.
through a barrier.
With his wife and 2 young children in the car.
Wow.
Feel free to scroll that around if you'd like.
That's okay.
Okay. Because I'm just scrolling back and forth.
I know. This is not difficult at all to, do the show right next to Jeff.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm beginning to understand.
Well, I'm used to reading what the chat room's saying too. I haven't seen that in like an age now because we're not even on that
there you
page.
go. Now we're on the chat.
Now we're
room.
on that page. So if I'm
But
ignoring
I
your
don't have
comments,
a big enough
it's-
screen to have all that stuff showing, do I?
Well, you
Okay.
can make everything like
All right. Okay, hang on. We want to make stuff happy. Okay, wait
It's
a minute.
fine.
But do you have to see everybody on camera too?
No.
Oh, well, wait. We'll get it like this, and then we won't be able to read what the article says. Let me.
There's got to be a better way of doing this.
I'm sorry I said anything. Let's Just continue with how you normally do the show, and
Is
I will
this
do my
the
best. not
interlude
to
where I
be-
can get another gin and tonic?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, this is an interlude? Who said this was an interlude?
Well, I was
The
asking.
show. This is part of the show.
HR just gave me permission.
Okay, go ahead then.
Thank you.
We'll entertain the troops while you're gone. But I'm not cutting this out. Sorry.
He just left. Drink
up.
break.
Hey, trust me, if you drink, this show is a lot more entertaining. You know what, Liz? I'm going to, because you are just so entertaining, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody hear what you're saying. I know it is trouble.
Questions are what can be said over the air.
Yes. Well, no, not for podcasts. You can say anything you want, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, but
even across.
But you know, we
international
try to
borders?
keep it clean. Okay?
Those would be FCC regulations, I think.
FCC,
Federal
but the FCC has no control over podcasts.
We
So-
live free.
We live free here. I just don't know how to set this up, Steph. With
No,
being able to
I'm
see-
sorry I said anything. I really just want you to continue with how
It's
you
fine.
normally do. It's
It's
fine.
fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything is just fine. I'm okay.
I see some passive aggressive coming out.
That doesn't describe us at all.
No.
I'll drink to that.
Yep.
Okay.
Where did he have to go to get his gin and tonic? Isn't it like right there in the office
To
with
the
him?
pub. That's
Oh,
only a
Probably
few
have to
blocks
get
away.
ice and lemon.
I guess we're going to have to pay for a bartender to be at Nick's place when we're recording the show.
Some sort of server.
And that
Yeah.
sounds like a really good idea.
See?
I'm back.
Okay.
Good.
Onward.
Okay. And remember, Liz, everybody can hear you.
I know this is scaring me.
I
Okay.
can hear Liz.
Yeah. Isn't that nice? Okay. We're trying something new. This is an evolving
Nice.
experiment, this whole thing. All right. Item D. A Southwest Aviation Antonov AN-26 freighter, registration Echo X-ray 126, performing a charter flight from Juba
Sure.
Juba.
to Wow, South Sudan.
Wow.
Wow. Wait a minute.
Wow. No, I was just saying wow because you said
How would you pronounce WAU? Wow.
yeah, yes, with difficulty.
South
Wow.
Sudan with
Like Wausau.
Wausau. Yeah,
Wah.
maybe it is Wah.
Wow.
With 6 passengers and 3 crew, lost height shortly after departure from Juba's runway 31 at 8:30 local time and impacted a farm about 2.5 nautical miles from the runway end, almost on the extended runway center line, coming to rest at position, who cares, leaving a wreckage trail of,
They gave coordinates,
Yeah.
not like 300
You know
yards
what,
from
though?
the end of the
Somebody
runway.
listening might live in the area, so here, let's just give them the information. North 4.9049, east 31 dot or decimal 5511.
That's for our Sudanese listeners.
Yes, that's for our Sudanese audience. After leaving a wreckage trail of about 125 meters, I'm not going to talk about the impact.
Gives
coordinates.
another coordinate.
1 passenger survived in critical condition. All 3 crew and 5 passengers died in the crash. The aircraft was to carry a load of money for wages in addition to other goods to AWEIL. AWEIL. The airport reported the aircraft belonging to Southwest Aviation was bound for the city that starts with an A with 8 people on board. Let's see. South Sudan's transport minister reported the aircraft chartered by the World Food Program carried 3 crew and 5 passengers. 1 passenger survived. 7 people were killed in the accident. Let's see. So we have some pictures. I don't know if you've been showing them.
I have.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So there's an overhead view of the airport and then 2.5 nautical miles to the northwest of the end of the runways where the airplane impacted. And I believe they talk a little bit more about the accident, and there may have been an engine failure. Let's see here.
Seems to be a theme today, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does. There's a lot of discussion here about who the airplane belongs to, owned by, kind of I don't know, shady,
Murky.
murky information circumstances regarding whoever it is that is supposed to be legally
I
operating.
sometimes wonder whether it's that or just very bad record keeping in
That
a
could be
country
too.
that probably doesn't have an awful lot of people who care about that sort of thing.
That's true. That's very likely what it is. Let's see. On August 25th, 2020, the sole survivor reported they heard a loud bang from the right engine. The aircraft began to descend. The captain told them that they were returning to the airport. The engine was being shut down. There we go. However, the aircraft apparently could not turn. It could not maintain height. It contacted ground and burst into flames. The survivor received third-degree burns almost all over the body, a severed spinal cord,
Wow.
and a fractured right leg. Wow, that's not good.
No.
Initial media reports in South Sudan had claimed the crash site was, well, we're not going to talk about this paragraph because they're just kind of arguing about where exactly it came down. But I read somewhere else that they talked about they think that the aircraft was overloaded, that it was only supposed to be able to carry a certain amount of weight, and that there was some kind of record somewhere or report that the airplane was actually carrying much more than what it was certified to carry. And that would make sense if you lose an engine and you're overweight, like grossly overweight, that you're not going to be able to do much with that situation.
Yeah. Just by the look of the last pictures, it probably went about 3 miles off the extended center line. It's more or less in line with the runway.
Yep.
And if you look at the average runway is, a couple of miles long. 1, 2, 3, perhaps 4 miles off the end.
I just didn't know that Southwest flew to Sudan.
I was going to mention that earlier. We probably should pronounce that as Southwest.
West. I'm sorry. I should
Not Southwest.
I'll fix that in post. I'll put a little bit of a pause in between South and West. I'm not going to do that. Okay.
Well, when you first said it, I had to look up it real quick.
I was just reading the words
I
together. Looking at some of the accident photos, specifically with this is the left engine we're looking at. It looks to me, being a trained accident investigator and understanding what a propeller would look like if it was producing power. This photo looks to me like the left engine was running and producing power the way the blades are bent. But this one, you can see it looks like it was in the feathered position. So that would have been the right engine, I guess. Maybe that had failed. I don't know. That's what it looks like to me anyway.
To me, they all look kind of bent up and
charred. Yeah.
So I don't have that.
Well, certainly that blade there, Jeff, looks like it's in line with the hub. So it would be
it does look
pointing
feathered.
into wind, feathered, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
So there you have it. Another engine failure. Seems like we've been getting a lot of accident reports coming from that area of the world recently.
Exactly. I wonder if it's an unusually difficult time for them, or whether we're just hearing them, whereas in other times they would be at the bottom of the news pile and we wouldn't even bother going there.
That's probably it. There's not a heck of a lot of flying going on in the COVID affected world. Of course, the whole world's affected, but yeah, I think that we're just hearing more and more reports from Africa for some reason.
Well, and it's a lot of these like charter flights and smaller, not large. Well, and you don't want to hear about.
Yeah, smaller as opposed to not large.
Yeah. It's not
okay. See, I can play this game too.
Yeah. No, I just.
We're playing the game now.
Yes, it's called the passive aggressive game.
We've had that.
I just mean we're not hearing about. Fortunately, there's not bigger, more newsworthy accidents occurring because there aren't nearly as many flights happening. So we're hearing a lot about these smaller incidents.
Well, here's one.
Okay, fine. I mean,
fine.
A
Vueling A320 at Birmingham, not Alabama, Birmingham, in England, August 26th, 2019, not too long ago. Alpha Floor on second
year
missed
ago.
approach. Oh, yeah, that's right. Not long ago. If you're really old like me, a year ago is nothing. Yes, it was a year ago. Thank you, Liz. See all these nice little things I'm hearing from Liz. Usually only I'm hearing from Liz and everybody's hearing now. But it's very
I'm
helpful.
being polite.
You know, she is actually being very
Remember, it was Jeff's
very
choice
polite.
to have.
Yes, it was. It
Liz
was my fault.
be on the show.
So Simon has a kind of a summary of the incident, but it was really confusing to me. So I went ahead and just put the actual report itself as the first item from what was the agency that did this report? AAIB, Air Accidents Investigation Branch, Field Investigation. That makes sense. Synopsis of this incident: the aircraft made 2 approaches above the correct descent profile on each occasion, leading to a missed approach. On the second missed approach, the aircraft initially continued descending and was not configured appropriately, reaching an angle of attack at which the Alpha Floor energy protection mode of the Airbus A320 activated to increase engine thrust. The aircraft made a subsequent approach, landing without further incident. During a subsequent event, this is what kind of threw me off, because there like more than one event here that they're talking about in this report, involving the same operator and aircraft type, but a different flight crew. The aircraft remained above the correct approach descent profile initially, but then descended below it later in the approach and performed a missed approach. The pilots in this case managed the vertical profile manually using a flight control mode which they were not familiar. I thought we were supposed to be familiar with all the flight control modes.
I'm just trying to think what on earth mode they were using that they shouldn't be familiar with.
I think, well, I don't know if it was the first incident or the second, but they were using vertical speed. I'm not trying to scroll that as rapidly as
That's okay. That's okay. You're good. You're
trying
good.
to use the little wheel there, and it's not working very well. Let's see. In both cases, the pilots appeared not to have understood when to commence the final descent to follow the vertical profile of the approach. The operator's safety department has recommended improvements in approach training and strategies to assist situational awareness. The operator and air traffic services provider are working to gain a better understanding of each other's approach requirements. So I was kind of scratching my head on this one. I'm thinking, well, why did they have trouble determining at what point to? I mean, this is like basic instrument training, right? You learn approach procedures, and you learn how to read approach charts. There's a depiction here of the vertical profile of the RNAV approach to runway 33 at Birmingham Airport, extracted from the UK Aeronautical Information publication. And I mean, it looks like a normal profile view that you would see in almost any approach. Let's see, the history of the flight. After an uneventful flight from Barcelona, the aircraft positioned for an RNAV approach to runway 33 at Birmingham. Both pilots were experienced on the aircraft, and the co-pilot was acting as a handling pilot. The weather at the time was good, with light winds reported and no cloud below 5,000 feet. So that's like a nice day below 5,000 feet.
Yeah,
right?
so presumably
VFR.
Yeah.
VMC. The aircraft was at 4,000 feet, approximately 11 nautical miles south of the airport, when
Is it just me, or have they gone quiet? Well, yes, I thought so, everybody. You just can't trust Jeff nowadays, you know. They're thinking of going into that new movie that Disney are making, the new cartoon, Frozen 3. I'm sure they'll sort it out eventually. Well, we've got two of them now. Hello.
Hello. Where have you been?
Well, I haven't got anywhere. And we had 4 of you a minute ago. So.
Oh. So we should ask them to join us.
They were doing a dreadful job. I'm glad you've come along.
How long were we talking for? Or how long?
About
how long
30,
ago did we?
30 or 40 seconds.
Okay.
Well, what's really strange is this other computer that I have the Liz's back channel on is using the
It's not the
hotspot
same
on my phone. It's not the same source of
internet.
And
it doesn't actually look like the internet quit. It just kicked us out of StreamYard and also out of.
Okay.
Very
you can hear us now, right, Liz?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Very strange. You got some like weird voodoo stuff going on here in this house.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Poltergeist.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I'm going to have some beer.
It's a good idea. The answer, the problem, no, was it the cause and solution to all your problems?
Yes.
Right there. Alcohol.
Alcohol. Okay. Well, I think that the discussion that we had that nobody could hear was just
that'll
amazing.
suffice and it'll be good.
Yeah, we should move on then.
Very in depth.
Very in depth.
We really did talk quite a bit about it.
Yeah.
I think
I'll have to listen to the podcast.
11 miles south of the airport was the last thing you said, is what Pip said.
Thank you.
So aircraft was
He
at
doesn't
4,000
remember
feet.
what he
It's
said
approximately
after
11 miles.
Really? You missed all that good stuff that Steph was talking about. Okay. The aircraft was at 4,000 feet, approximately 11 nautical miles south of the airport, when air traffic control cleared it to descend to 2,000 feet and carry out the RNAV approach. The pilots read back the clearance correctly, but 30 seconds later, the aircraft had not changed their altitude, and they contacted ATC to request descent. Well, didn't they just receive that clearance to 2,000? Okay. 30 seconds earlier? Okay.
Yes.
ATC again cleared the aircraft to descend to 2,000 feet and to carry out the approach. The aircraft was 10.5 nautical miles from the runway when it started descending. At 9.4 nautical miles, it was at 3,800 feet, 1,000 feet above the correct descent profile. And Steph was making the point.
Well, I was making the point that earlier it said they were unfamiliar with the approach mode they were using and uncertain as to when to descend, but they were told to descend.
Yeah.
Twice.
But they weren't
And then
really
they
certain about that.
Didn't actually descend. So
No.
I'm also confused now.
well, there's a difference between being cleared to descend and being told to descend.
Well, this
So
says that they
you-
were
you-
told.
if you're cleared to
descend.
descend, you've still got to work out make your own decision about where to start that to stay on the glide slope. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Well-
but there's really not a glide slope here. I think it's a non-precision
Well,
approach.
if they're like most operators of airliners nowadays, we try not to do a stepped approach. So
Right. Yeah.
you do-
Constant descent
Constant angle.
profile. Yeah.
So what we're looking to do is start an approach that will
Okay.
pass through the final fix at the correct height
That's fair.
and continue down.
It sounds to me though that they
So they were at 4,000
So-
feet, 11 miles away, and there's a fix there that says they should cross it at 2,000 feet,
right.
5.1 miles from the.
Yeah.
Well, no
runway
lower
threshold.
than 2,000.
Well, no,
feet.
yeah, no lower than 2,000.
But
So
usually
I'd
that
be
coincides.
starting at 10.2 miles from 4,000 feet and flying a 3-degree approach, assuming that's what it's predicated to. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. When the aircraft was 3 nautical miles from the runway, ATC cleared it to land, at which point the aircraft was at 2,000 feet. So, yeah, that's 660 feet above the correct profile. The pilots continued the approach, but at about 0.3 nautical miles from the threshold, pretty close to the threshold, and at 470 feet. That's kind of high. They announced they were going around. Good decision to go around.
Yeah.
ATC,
Like that decision.
yes. ATC.
Only there was some music you could play there.
What's that?
If only there was some music you could play there.
Yeah, I don't know if we have anything that would be appropriate. So was it this one that I put some sound clips in? No, I didn't. That was probably a piece of feedback. Anyway.
Next one.
Or the next one. Okay, thank you. Now, where was I? I'm scrolling all over the place here. It's making me dizzy.
Going around.
Can I help you? It's further up.
Further
still.
up?
Yeah.
I think you ought to take control of at least one of those things.
Probably.
This little scroll
Like
wheel
make
here
it
is like really
scroll
sensitive when it comes
for
to
you.
this PDF that we're looking at.
Yeah.
So you should let someone who's got a really good eye for poking needles into people's backs control that then.
Well, do you know anybody like that?
No, unfortunately not.
No one who's any good at it anyway.
See what I mean? It's kind of sensitive. Or
Yeah.
touchy.
No. I was reading because I couldn't.
Okay.
You scrolled through so many pages that
Yeah, I think it was this
you
one.
scrolled through like 10, and this is the page that you were on.
10? It's not
At
even 10
least.
pages long. Okay. So they decided to perform a go around. You know what? It was Liz caused me to be distracted with the sound effect.
Oh,
because
we're
that's the
blaming
way-
the producer now.
All
I
the
think it's
producer's
Liz's
fault.
fault.
On air, we're blaming the producer.
What?
Yes, we are. No, it's my fault. Everybody knows. Shortly after the aircraft began climbing, shortly after the aircraft began climbing, the commander took over English. I don't know how to talk. The commander took over as handling pilot and informed ATC. He goes, "Give me the airplane. You don't know what you're doing." And the crew had experienced a navigation problem on the initial approach. A navigation problem. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And nav error.
Then they requested a localizer DME approach for the second approach. ATC accepted the request and provided radar vectors to position the aircraft to commence the approach. When the aircraft was on base leg, ATC cleared it to descend to 2,000 feet, but the crew mistakenly read back the clearance to descend.
Sorry.
That's okay. I don't have this memorized. To descend to 2,000 feet. Oh, but the crew mistakenly read back the clearance to descend only to 3,000 feet. The mistake was missed by ATC and was not corrected. Okay, so we have some miscommunication going on here. The aircraft descended to 3,000 feet whilst positioning to establish on the localizer, during which it was given further clearance to descend with the approach. When the aircraft began its final descent from 3,000 feet, it was about 7 nautical miles from the runway. It crossed the final descent point 5.1 nautical miles from the runway and 200 feet above the correct profile altitude. So they're high again. Initially, the crew continued the approach, but then informed ATC they were too high again and requested a left turn. In response, ATC instructed the crew to turn left onto a heading of 240 degrees and to climb to 4,000 feet. The crew commenced the turn 2.5 miles from the runway, descending through 1,900 feet. At the same time, they selected a climb to 4,000 feet using the open climb mode, leaving the landing gear down and full flaps set. They did not select the toga thrust mode appropriate for a standard go-around maneuver. This caused the aircraft to pitch up to about 10 degrees nose up, which is probably not appropriate, especially if you don't have the power at toga.
Mm-hmm.
The aircraft began to decelerate, and the crew changed to vertical speed mode, reducing pitch to about 1 degrees nose up. However, the aircraft entered the alpha floor protection mode, automatically setting toga thrust and causing the speed to increase. The commander then set the thrust levers to prevent the aircraft exceeding the full flap limiting speed. With pitch reducing, the aircraft continued to descend, and ATC again instructed the crew to climb. The crew selected a climb of about 900 feet per minute, still using the vertical speed mode, and the aircraft having descended to 1,300 feet. So they were continuing to descend. The whole So, help me with this, Nick. You're familiar with open climb, alpha floor, and all these different flight modes. And what was going on in that cockpit?
I think there was way too much pushing and pulling of modes, changing modes, not anticipating things, not realizing what you're doing. And in the words of the guy that did that marvelous talk about the children of the magenta, what they should really have done at that point, having got themselves in a complete pickle, was to take out the autopilot, take out the auto thrust, to manually fly the airplane to where they wanted it to go, and then start re-engaging things. Or better still, get the aircraft under control, the right speed and the right attitude for that speed in a climb, and then start cleaning up perhaps. Because I didn't mention when they achieved a cleanup, but this just smacks of someone who either very tired or completely overloaded. Just tried to fly the airplane out using automatics and selecting completely inappropriate modes to do that, and then becoming confused and trying something else. So not well handled. That would be a simulator fail.
I have the same question as that guy who's over your right shoulder there, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
He's in our chat room there too. He said, how about look out the window and fly visual? Seems
What?
like the
it was
weather
a nice day, so they could have done that at any point. Exactly.
I mean, it should have been
were
obvious to
5,000
them
feet, and they were at 4,000 feet and 11 miles from the runway.
Without even looking at your instruments, you could look outside, see the runway, and go, it feels kind of like we're high.
It might be a little high.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start our descent.
I hate to say it, but I think more and more we're seeing, and I've even seen it in my short career of almost 32 years, of the newer pilots really, and I think it has something to do with the way we're training pilots in the airlines. And they rely and depend so much on the automation that they don't feel like they can turn it off. I don't know why. I mean, there's no rule that says I can't turn it off, and click, turn everything off, fly the airplane, get the airplane on the ground.
That might be airline dependent a little bit, but
I'm not saying that this is true for all airlines, but there are some airlines out there that I've been told that they said, absolutely not. You never turn everything off. You have to keep it all on until a certain parameter is met. My airline encourages us to, when it's appropriate, to manually fly the airplane. However, in anecdotal experience, hardly anybody does. I do, because I love flying the airplane, but I'm used to doing it. But the newer people aren't used to doing it, and it's sad. As Pip said, just turn the automatics off, and Nick said the same, and fly the airplane.
Absolutely.
Well, it talks about another approach as well, another incident in December of 2019 where and they kind of mucked up the vertical descent profile. And in this case, I think they actually got below the profile. We're going to have the report in the show notes so everybody can read this thing here, but I don't know what the problem is. I think they're thinking that it might have something to do with the way that they're training at this particular airline. And also, I think there was some discussion about communications. Spanish pilots, I believe, and English controllers, and the ATC not trapping the error when they gave a descent to a certain altitude and it wasn't read back. Or the wrong altitude was read back and it was not corrected. So, the crews are not completely to blame, but I think that a bulk of the blame goes on the air crews on these incidents.
Having been in the simulator and observed when alpha floor hits unexpectedly, it can be quite a dramatic event. So alpha floor comes in when you get the aircraft to an angle of attack that is deemed to be beyond the protection of or unsafe. So the aircraft protections take control, and they apply toga power. So that's full power. Now, in a lot of go-around situations, you don't need a lot of power. Particularly if you're lightweight and you're not close to the ground, you may not even select toga at all. You may manually fly a level or slightly climbing reposition, as it were, and clean up along the way. You don't have to do what is a go around that would be flown at decision height, for example, where you need to get the aircraft in the formal go around because you're close to the ground and you need to fly the correct procedure and you want all that guidance, etc. It doesn't have to be done that way. But when alpha floor hits and you get all that power unexpectedly, the aircraft will accelerate like a a startled rabbit. And unless you're prepared for it and able to clean the aircraft up quickly, or select appropriate modes, or disengage it quickly, you're going to get way behind the airplane very quickly and start to do what this guy did, which was climb, level off, descend, flaps over speed, bells ringing. It's all gone to stop going wrong, Captain.
Well, I think in the interview with the captain, I think that's kind of what he was thinking, Nick, that it was not really necessary for me to go into the toga mode and get all that power and everything else. I'm just going, I think in his mind, he was thinking he was just going to be doing like a left circle back around and, come in for landing kind of thing. So leave the landing flap setting where it is, leave the gear down, don't need to push the power way up. But instead of doing that by hand, he tried to do it with the automation, and then it just wasn't working out the way he intended it for it to work out. And then pushing buttons and changing modes, and all of a sudden the alpha floor hits. And as you just mentioned, once those engines go into toga power, things start happening really, really quickly, especially if you're light. The operator,
I've seen it.
The operator, in their defense, have stable approach criteria, designated: aircraft final configuration, checklist complete, on the glide slope and localizer, speed, the approach speed plus 25 to -5, and no excess deviation. So I think that we could all agree that in this case, in both of the cases, that the airplane was not meeting the criteria for stable approach. But it also says right underneath that the operator commented that it considered it acceptable for pilots to delay the commencement of the go-around maneuver slightly in order not to become rushed, but only when it was considered safe to do so. So
yeah, we've talked about this, Jeff. If we say get told to go around at 1,000 feet, there's nothing to prevent us just continuing what we're doing, the approach, doing a quick mini rebrief just to refresh the other pilots, getting mentally prepared for what we're about to do. So we're going to do a go around in a second. I'm going to apply full power. The airplane's going to pitch. I'm going to call go around flap. You're going to bring the flap up one slot, and then we're going to climb. We're going to make sure we've got the right high heading speed set, and then we're going to call for the gear up once you say positive rate. And it'll like, mate, I'm not in practice, but I could do that in 30 seconds or less. And then you say, ready? Okay, away we go. So you don't have to react immediately unless you're at a lower height down near your decision height. And certainly if you're doing one that's above your acceleration altitude that you'd normally do once you've done the initial part of the go around, you're going to accelerate and clean up. If you're above that height, you can do it all. On the automatics, level the airplane off, or set in a gentle climb, set an appropriate power setting just to hold your speed, and then just ask for the services to come in one by one as you gently accelerate. But once alpha floor happens, you have to be very quick to get all that done, or you have to remember, and that's another thing, it's because it's so rare for people to get alpha floor. This doesn't happen very often. People forget how to get the aircraft out of full power, because that power is locked in. It'll say toga lock, and you've actually got to remember how to disengage it. And it's not necessarily one of those things that you'll immediately have in your mind.
Wow. Okay. I found the place in the report where they talked about what the commander was thinking. He said, in this case, stated that he did not wish to alarm the passengers by conducting a further go-around, because they'd already done one before, but did not explain his plan thereafter. So, as Nick mentioned, he would quickly brief what he intended to do. This commander did not. The aircraft was in VMC, and if his intention was to reposition visually for another approach, this might explain why the aircraft was not reconfigured for a go-around nor toga selected when ATC instructed the aircraft to climb. Anyway, big mess. A lot of things went wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, at any rate, communication is super important there.
It wasn't there.
No.
Again, how many times does it come down to that, right? Effective communication.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, I think that Liz wants us
G.
to maybe jump to item G. Well, okay.
See what I was doing there?
Plane flies itself. We went for a ride. This is from Wired.com, Wired magazine. X-Wing is testing a Cessna that's controlled from the ground, not the cockpit. Its goal is to automate as much as possible while keeping a human in the loop. The Cessna Caravan is the airplane they're using for the platform. The conditions are not ideal for our landing. So the rider here is along with the pilot on board the Cessna Caravan, but I guess the Caravan is equipped with a lot of fancy instrumentation and flight control manipulators. I don't know what the right word is there. So
we need a picture of the inside to see.
Yeah, we do. We got all we have here
there.
in the article is a picture of the outside of the aircraft, but the conditions are not ideal for our landing. A hard wind is blowing over the low hills east of San Francisco and at just the wrong angle, straight across the runway where we're set to touch down. But as we ease into our final approach, our two-winged shadow clipping the suburban homes below, the veteran pilot sitting beside me makes a gentle suggestion. I like to do it with hands up, like a roller coaster, he says. He removes his hands from the wheel of our aircraft, a 27-year-old Cessna Caravan that once shuttled United Nations dignitaries in southern Africa. It's nothing especially fancy, with aspects that feel more go-kart than airliner. The cockpit is filled with manual toggles and analog dials. Pulleys connect the pedal directly to the rudder at the tail, but recently this plane underwent some modifications. As we descend past 500 feet, the 15-knot gusts hitting our side and the pilot's hands still hovering, the wheel and pedals begin to jostle, compensating for the wind with inhuman precision. The descent, that means that's probably really bumpy, remains smooth. The descent remains smooth, serene, even as we touch down. It will be very uneventful, almost boring. Maxime Gabriel, the chief technology officer of X-Wing, had assured me shortly before our fully autonomous takeoff, flight, and landing. But they later say that the takeoff was not autonomous. That's what we're aiming for. That hadn't seemed to mean much coming from Gariel, an aerospace engineer whose interest in planes began by jumping out of them for recreation. That's a problem. But almost boring is an apt assessment. After all, the last thing anyone wants out of a pilot-free air travel is excitement. Automation is nothing new to travel or air travel. In commercial airliners, a pilot's role in handling the plane largely ends soon after takeoff. Not really. Then autopilot takes over, as it has for decades. Again, kind of a simplification. Contrary to popular imagination, many modern planes are designed to cede less control to the pilot of the event in the event of emergency. Automated flight systems, generally speaking, handle the shifting conditions of flight with more ease and more safely than humans do. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that statement at all. Again, this person writing the article is probably not a pilot, probably a technology person, and doesn't really quite grasp the realities and practicalities of airplane flying. I mean, when somebody says this, would you agree with this? Contrary to popular imagination, many modern planes are designed to cede less control to the pilots in the event of an emergency.
No.
I wouldn't.
No,
I don't agree with that
you
at all.
usually lose automation in the event of emergency.
Start shedding layers of automation.
Exactly.
And protections that you would have in the normal flight. You lose a lot of those when you, for example, have an electrical problem. You'll lose a lot of facilities that would otherwise be there.
Yep. Anyway, it goes on to say, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, I was just going to say, it would worry me that they chose a 27-year-old airplane from Africa to conduct these trials, I'll be thinking, well, why didn't they choose a nice new one? Why did they choose this really cheap old one?
Because this one has already been beat to smithereens.
I can think of a lot of reasons. So,
Yeah, that's right.
well,
So
the first
that-
one I'm thinking of is that it's probably not very cheap to install all this additional automation. So you're going to want to save the cost on your airframe. There,
I was
probably.
assuming that when it
And-
crashed, it wouldn't have cost them too much.
Yeah, might have something to do with it.
Well, and perhaps it didn't come with all that fancy automation that's going to get in the way of whatever they're putting into place to do the automating in the first place, or in the for their purposes. They don't have to remove stuff that's already there in order to make it more autonomous.
Yeah, good point.
So it always that's probably not the right word, amuses me that these writers will put in a paragraph like this one that there's a fully autonomous takeoff flight and landing, and then 2 paragraphs later he says, for one thing, there are the aspects of flight that are not yet automated, maneuvering on taxiways and executing takeoff, for example. But didn't
No
you just
proofreading.
Having just contradicted himself.
I know we did.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Anyway, further down, I highlighted something here. But to keep, let's see, the goal is to automate away as much as possible the taxi and takeoff, the landing, and avoiding collisions in between. But to keep a human in the loop. Instead of overseeing one flight a day, pilots could manage many in short succession, or who knows, maybe even juggle a few aircraft at a time. The basic idea, more planes, fewer pilots.
There we
Yay,
go.
that's what we're for here.
Yep.
No,
Nope.
wait, we're not.
The sooner you retire, Jeff, the happier you'll be.
Yes, right.
Then you won't have to think about this stuff at all.
And then here's the crutch right here, the crux, I guess is the proper way to say that. It all sounds pretty reasonable, even straightforward, until you have to plan for something to go wrong.
Wait, you mean something can go wrong with the automation?
Yeah.
Nah.
Or the
What?
aircraft just, or maybe not even necessarily the
What?
automation, but the automation may not be able to analyze what is going wrong with the airplane and how to fix it or resolve the problem.
Well, the good thing is at least they won't kill a pilot,
That's true.
because the pilot will be sitting back at his headquarters with a bunch of computers.
Exactly. So this guy, Piet, is busy turning X-Wing through a licensed subsidiary into a cargo airline. The plan in coming months is to buy a few other old Cessnas and outfit them with the servers and sensors. Then, like any other cargo feeder network, they'll ship things, only the pilot on board will have very little to do. So I guess they're planning initially at least to have a pilot on board. He'll have very little to do with the automated systems guiding the way. Meanwhile, they'll continue to improve their software and use those flights to gather data and prove their automation systems work with thousands of hours of flight time, not just the dozens they have so far. At some point, Piet hopes that the Federal Aviation Administration will let him leave the pilots behind.
I think probably he's going to be the only one on board at that point.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I'm not sure who else is going to volunteer.
I know.
Mm.
Interesting, huh?
Well, I'm sure it'd be all right for parachute jumpers.
Yeah, because they already have the.
Well, but we want to reuse the
You've got a
airplane.
way of, yeah, it'd be all
We'd
right
like
for
for
it
it to-
crashes. And you've got a way of getting out.
Yeah, but if you want to go back up and do it again, you need the aircraft to arrive back at its
Yeah, well,
destination.
Everyone jumps out and the plane lands itself.
there you go.
I mean, in theory.
Yeah, guaranteed to work. Just trust us.
Perfect.
Mhm.
All right. And then finally, item F. The company that operated the helicopter in the crash that killed Kobe Bryant and 8 others has filed a cross complaint against 2 air traffic controllers, according to court records obtained by USA Today Sports on Tuesday. In the cross complaint, which was filed in a California Superior Court last week, Island Express Helicopters alleges the January helicopter crash was the result of a series of erroneous acts and or omissions by 2 air traffic controllers at the Southern California TRACON, which provides air traffic control service to airports in the region. Island Express, which is facing a series of lawsuits from the family of Bryant and other victims in connection with the crash, claims that one of the air traffic controllers declined pilot Arazaboyan's request for flight following prior to the crash, which the helicopter company characterizes as a mistake. The company also alleges that the first air traffic controller and his replacement failed to effectively communicate the situation during a shift change just prior to the crash. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's not the way I remember the air traffic control pilot communications. And I went ahead and got an audio clip of not the entire transcript, but at the point at which he was cleared to go through a Class D, and they were giving him some instructions. And we'll talk about this after we listen to this audio here.
Number 2 Echo X-ray, continue following the 5 northwestbound to join the 118, and then Van Nuys will work you through. Radar services terminated. Remain at squawk. Contact Van Nuys helicopters 119.0. 2
Echo X-ray, switch you to Van Nuys. Van Nuys helicopter 2 Echo X-ray with you for the special VFR transition. We are currently at 1400.
Helicopter 72 Echo X-ray Van Nuys Tower. Wind calm, visibility 2 1/2, ceiling 1,100 overcast, Van Nuys altimeter 3016. Cleared into Van Nuys Class Delta, northeast of Van Nuys along the 118 freeway. Westbound, advise when you're in VFR conditions or when you're clear of the Van Nuys Class Delta. Transition at or below 2,500 permitting.
2 Echo X-ray, advise in VFR condition, and then we stay on the 118, and we're currently at 1400, and we have 0235.
So the way I understand special VFR, I mean, he is radar identified right now with Van Nuys, this controller that we just heard.
Well, he's flying a transition through the
Delta. And she's saying, let me know when you're in VFR conditions. So that means to me that he is not in VFR conditions. So he has to be.
So she means basic VFR minimum. So 3 statute mile visibility, 1,000-foot ceiling. So you can fly special VFR with 1 statute mile and then clear of clouds.
But what does flight following give you? It gives you somebody kind of keep following your flight on radar.
It's a set of eyes on you, and you'll get traffic advisories.
Yeah. So wouldn't he be sort of basically getting flight following at this point anyway? I mean, she's
this is a good question for opposing bases to let us know the exact
really
difference between those two situations, because he's talking to air traffic control and he's got special VFR clearance. So I'm
no expert, but special VFR, I believe you have to be given separation, so you're going to get better than flight following. You're actually
that's the way I understand
it. Yeah.
You're actually going to get directions to separate you from the other aircraft the controller has.
Right, which is their job, right? To separate you from other big pieces of metal out there flying around.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Helicopter 2 Echo X-ray, thank you. And once you clear Van Nuys Delta, did you want to talk to SoCal?
Affirmative, 2 Echo X-ray.
Green line 117, contact SoCal departure. Helicopter 2 X-ray, understand, just remain this frequency, and again, 118 west.
2 Echo X-ray, 118 west. Tower for 2 Echo X-ray, can we go ahead and start turning to the southwest coast to 11?
Helicopter 2 Echo X-ray, approved, and are you transitioning in VFR condition?
VFR condition, 1,500, 2 Echo X-ray.
Helicopter.
Okay, so it's basically just declared that he's in VFR conditions.
2 Echo X-ray, thank you. Contact SoCal now 134.2 for flight following 34.2.
34.2.
X-ray ident. So X-ray, you're still on a 1200 code. Are you requesting flight following?
I don't know why he's doing a 1200 code, because he was given 0235, I think, before. But anyway, he must have on his own decided to squawk 1200, maybe when he was making the VFR transition. I'm not sure.
Two Echo X-ray, what are the intentions? What do you did? 2 Echo X-ray, you're still too low level for flight following at this time. 2 Echo X-ray, SoCal.
And that was he asked.
2 Echo X-ray, continue
a couple of times. And then obviously by that point they'd already crashed.
Sounds like Opposing Bases already did a whole segment on special
did
VFR.
they?
So go ahead and
on
just,
special VFR. Okay.
yeah. But I'm wondering about the difference between so specifically what traffic advisory information you might get if you're on a special VFR.
I'd like to hear a
clearance.
discussion about that. Maybe I'll send him some feedback regarding this particular, case of somebody saying the helicopter operator was saying it wasn't our fault. It was ATC's fault. They weren't giving us flight following. But I'm thinking, what does that have to do with it? I mean, he's basically taking his own navigation upon himself, trying to get into that valley and get around to that airport that he's trying to bring his passengers to.
And air traffic isn't obliged to give you flight following. If they're busy, they just won't be able to offer you the service, in which case it's up to you whether to continue or do something else, or just put your eyes on stalks. So I think,
I think what's happening here is that they know this is going to go to court. They're hoping maybe that the jury, if it's a jury trial, will not kind of understand the little nuances of this whole thing.
Pretty,
I don't know.
Stretched
maybe
to
they're
me.
just grasping at straws, hoping to deflect some of the responsibility and liability for this.
Yeah. I think it's just a very litigious society, and anything that seems like it might be a good countersuit, people go for.
Because I think Kobe Bryant's widow is suing Island Helicopters for this. So, Anyway, I just thought that was interesting when they said that they're filing suit against ATC because they didn't give them flight following. I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure that that's going to have any.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, to be honest.
To the outcome of this whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Lane Street says in the chat room, flight following won't keep you from hitting the ground.
Yep.
No,
that's
not
what
at all.
They did.
I mean, it's not like air traffic control is flying the aircraft for you.
Yeah. All right. Enough news. I'm tired of it. It's time to get to know us. And we'll start today with Captain Nick.
Well, I'm an ex-airline pilot living in England. Isn't that marvelous?
Really?
So now you know all about me.
Did you start flying when you were like 5 years old in a barnstorming biplane?
No, I just kept throwing myself off the roof.
Oh, I see. In a sheet.
That's what happened.
Yes. That counts for a lot, doesn't it?
We don't want to know as much about you as you think we do.
Oh, okay.
How about just like what's been happening in between shows, maybe since our last show?
I did a great photo shoot for a bunch of working dogs being trained to do search and rescue work, so following trails, and also sending out particular items. In one case, a cadaver dog, so they search out dead bodies, that sort of thing. So, but anyway, I was there to photograph the dogs, which was absolutely brilliant. But all that went on to the back burner, really, when I got a lovely offer to go with the bloke that's over my right shoulder here, Pilot Pip, to join him and our great friend Captain Al on a little fly-in to an airport called Compton Abbas. It's an airfield, really. And I jumped at the chance.
Outside of LA, I think.
Compton Abbas.
It is, yeah.
I didn't know you were in flight following.
No,
just Compton.
Just Compton. Didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, there's
the rest of that we're not familiar with, but.
But Pip was very kind. He flew his little Piper Comanche down, and he picked us up from that particular field, actually. And there's Adam Spink, an air traffic controller from Heathrow, we're a great friend of the show, and his lovely wife, Louise, who is an air traffic controller at Farnborough, and took us all off to Compton Abbas. Now, that airport, the little airfield there, is one that's only about 7 miles from my house. I had no idea it was there. It's literally a farmer has cut a beautifully neat runway in one of his fields, and then he's erected a little hangar, presumably for himself, and then mowed some really nice taxiways to join up. The actual runway is the other side of those trees, and it's absolutely super there. So he flew us over and then let me have a bit of a go, and we arrived at Compton Abbas, and I managed to make a reasonable fist of it's not a Comanche. What is it? All right, then. He just called me a...
It's
He's just called me a dumbass. What's one of those? I don't understand. It's Cherokee, was it? Okay. Well, it's an Indian anyway. I
started to correct you, and then I was like, nah, Pip will get back to him.
It's too hard. Anyway, I did a terrible landing at wherever we went, and we had a lovely lunch with Al, who had flown in just prior to us. We actually taxied off the runway and followed him to our parking spot, and we did some audio while we were there to catch up with everyone. So perhaps that would be an appropriate time to play.
Oh, that would be an appropriate time for me to push that particular
possibly
button.
Yeah,
I was doing something else. Okay, here we go. I'll edit this in post for sure.
Yeah, like that'll happen.
No chance. Do you remember where it is?
Yeah, I do.
It's in the intro.
I got it. I removed the sidebar on Evernote so that I'd have more room for the windows here. And now I'm trying to figure out, how do I navigate here without
Somehow
that
I feel
sidebar?
this is my fault for making
No, it's not your fault. It's
windows.
all my fault.
Okay.
Passive aggressive.
It's all my fault. Here we go.
Take two, Jeff. Take two, and blah, blah, blah. I'm 200 miles west of where I should be. We're doing a show tonight. And I'm here with Captain Al, Pip, and the Spinks. So Al's now going to say exactly what he just said all over again.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the great problems our industry faces is checklist discipline, or indeed a use of a checklist at all, isn't it? To confirm that the recording's actually taking place.
It's a bright sunny day. I couldn't see the red button.
Yes, it's great to be here. So we're in Compton Abbas, and what can I say? It's been a strange few months since we last saw each other.
Yep, it was your 50th birthday.
It was.
We were in Welsh Wales somewhere, weren't we?
Well, I think Cheshire is considered to be part of England these days.
Damn. Okay. Well, it felt like Welsh Wales, certainly with all the Welsh people there.
Oh, yeah. Well, we mounted a successful family invasion.
Yes,
but,
you did.
There was plenty of singing after you left, and the place was generally trashed. So
it was great. So what are we doing today?
So we've just had a little bit of an impromptu fly-in. I jumped into a PA-28 this morning in Manchester, tootled down here for a couple of hours where near I would imagine it's a city, actually, because I'm guessing there's a cathedral in Shaftesbury, which is where we're near.
Jeff, you're supposed to laugh at this point.
Which we're not really 100% certain exactly where it is in the UK. It may be in Dorset, but somewhere down in the southern part. And it's a glorious day. And so I flew down, and I believe you flew in as well.
Yes, Pip's going to talk all about that in a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So I witnessed the most splendid of landings in here, I must say. So whoever did that deserves an awful lot of credit.
There were hands flying around all over the place.
Disorganized chaos and organized chaos are very similar to the Observer. Anyway, speaking of Pip, I'll hand over the microphone and he can tell you a little bit more.
Thanks. Hi, Pip.
Hello, APG lands.
Yes, I know. It's exciting being on the APG,
isn't it just? I hope
Absolutely.
everyone's well. So we're, as Al said, at Compton Abbas, which is definitely in the southern part of the UK, towards the end.
Yeah, we flew south for a while, and then we flew west a bit, didn't we?
Pretty much, That's Airbus navigation there for you.
Well, that's perfect. I had a little green line to follow, almost. Actually, it was blue.
Yeah.
I won't
I think this is probably our third attempt now at a meetup over the past few months. Previous attempts being thwarted due to weather and other commitments. But it seems to have panned out today, considering the weather yesterday was so awful.
Was it Storm Francis?
Storm Francis. We in the UK have this penchant for naming our storms. For storm, read mildly windy.
Yeah,
anyway.
I can't wait for Storm Gertrude. I think that'll be a bad one.
Yeah, it was a bit gusty and rainy yesterday, and the weather wasn't brilliant this morning, but it all came together. I came down from Weston to a lovely little airstrip called West Tisted, I think it is.
Yeah,
which is
that's
just a
right.
few miles from Nick's house.
It's brilliant. 7 miles. I didn't even know it existed.
No, nor did I until the other day. It popped up on my Sky Demon app, which is a sort of a 4-flight type thing. Anyway, it was a lovely strip, 1,000 meters of nice. 1,000 meters of lice. Nice, short mown grass. Other than the birds on the end of it, which almost caused a problem. But anyway, came down, picked up Sir Nick and the 2 Spinks. Louise is here as well as Adam. And we all piled in, and we got to see what a PA-28 performs like at absolutely max takeoff weight.
It took a
to the pound.
distressingly long time for the airspeed indicator to start reading.
It really did, didn't it? I was beginning to raise an eyebrow. I thought, ooh. And the stall warner was just squeaking as we took off. But that's probably how it should be done. Anyway, that worked out well. And then 30 minutes flight across. Nick flew most of it. All very nice.
It's lovely.
Yeah, he flew the circuit
I
here.
managed to trim it out occasionally.
Trimmed it. He had the engine at max revs the whole way. There we go. And then he landed it here. Lovely, smooth landing, as Al said. I thought they were going to waive the landing fee. The landing was that good. They were all aghast.
I think it's probably due to my throttle handling.
Yes, interesting.
I'm allowed to
throttle
call it
work
a
there.
throttle, aren't I, Al? Yeah. It's got a butterfly valve. Because what Pip said was,
I think I said chop the power, whereas Nick heard add a touch of power.
Yeah.
So I thought he was going around.
I just put a tad of power on, just like you would have in the Phantom, just to cushion the impact.
Yeah. But anyway, it worked out quite well.
Yes, it did. Compensating errors, I think we'll call that.
Yeah. And here we are. We've just ordered some food. It's a lovely sunny day. And I don't know what else there is to add.
Nothing. Alvy, let's hear from the Spinks.
Spinks, go.
Hello. Hang on. I need to move the cable.
Cable management, Nev.
Nev, where's Nev when you need
Hi, Nick.
him? Hi, Adam. Tell me about this life of yours right now. What's going on in your world?
I'm here sat waiting for a burger.
Yeah, I know, but I'm in more general terms. What's it like at work?
It's getting busier. We're maybe up to about 50% of our traffic levels before the virus hit. So
that's about got you maxed out, hasn't it?
Well, luckily I don't work there very often. I do my office job from home a lot of the time. So I've not been into Heathrow very often. I was in there yesterday, and it looks very odd walking all the way through Terminal 3, which you would know very well. And it's completely deserted. All the shops are shut. Everything
Golly,
nothing
gosh.
there. So it's a bit odd walking through, but things are starting to pick up, hopefully, on our side anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Still great fun to get flying today, wasn't it?
Yeah, lovely day. Yeah, bit breezy, bit bumpy. But
much appreciated to Pip. Well, that was my flying, I think.
I was being diplomatic. I didn't want to highlight that.
You're such a nice chap. Anyway, we'll try not to take up too much of the show. Let's hear from the lovely Louise. Now, Louise works at Farnborough in the big glass house that they have there where they grow all the vegetables. What's it like there for the moment, Louise?
Hi, Nick. Not sure how many vegetables, lots of chocolate and cake, but
okay, well, that's fair enough.
typical controller diet.
Exactly. What's it like for you guys? You busy in the tower there at Farnborough?
Yeah, so surprisingly so. I'm sure I don't know how much you've been flying recently, Pip, but we've really picked up after lockdown. It was pretty quiet. But we're up to about 80-90% traffic now.
Oh, wow.
Which is, I think, surprised even us. And then combined with the Lars service with the GA, as you can see, number of people flying in today.
Yeah, well, it's not exactly busy, but at least you've got something to do.
Yeah, I'd say we're still quite short-staffed, so it's been challenging.
I've noticed how many controllers are short. Isn't that funny? Yeah. Okay.
We don't need to be tall.
That's true. You don't have to reach the rudder pedal set. That's brilliant. Do you enjoy? I mean, do you do a lot of light aircraft flying? GA flying?
Well, I think Pip asked me last time I went flying. I think it was about 10 years ago. So no.
Was that right? Excellent. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. Yep, very good.
It wasn't exactly smooth, was it? We were being bounced around a wee bit.
I've had worse.
Had worse. Brilliant. Yes, Adam. Yes, exactly right. Okay,
It's
super.
a low bar.
Well, there you
Very
go. That's it from us, Jeff. Here we are at Compton Andrews, about to eat a $100 hamburger except I don't think they take dollars. And all the best from everyone here.
Bye, APG.
Bye.
And back to you in the studio.
Bye.
Good to see you all. Hey, $100 hamburger, that's a discount from a 100-pound hamburger, at least, right?
True. Be about a what, 80 something?
Yeah,
pound?
like 87.
The
pound.
government are actually paying half of the cost of meals at the moment. So if you go out and have to a restaurant, the government will pay half the cost of your meal.
How does that
really?
work?
The restaurant give you a
Enlightened.
50% discount, and
Oh.
the government refund the restaurant.
Wow. That's very clever. They're not doing that here.
No.
Ah,
Not at
okay.
all.
Well, you need to come
That's all
over
from the
here quick.
Oh, yes, I'll jump right on the next available flight.
So
Actually, flying there would be okay. It's just when I get there, then I can't go anywhere for 2 weeks, I think is the problem. So that
Yeah,
restaurant
Nick
meal
doesn't
would
want
be
you
a
there for
little...
2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm coming to stay with you, Nick.
That's fine. Absolutely.
what
No
was it
problem
that
at all.
the lovely Mrs. Spink said about Captain Nick's flying?
She said she's had worse.
She's had worse. Okay. Just wanted to
There you go.
clarify
Yeah,
that.
That's good. That's good for me. Very pleased with that comment.
And then at some point, somebody said something about 50%, and I had to refrain from doing this, hitting that bell. Every time I hear 50%. Anyway,
Well,
good to
to
hear
be-
that the traffic levels are coming back.
Mhm.
Yeah. To be fair, it's been like 40 years since I flew a light airplane properly. So
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't managed that. So
Yeah. Well, every time I've been up in a GA airplane, nobody lets me touch the controls.
that's very sensible.
I take that back. That's not true.
Mike K.
Yeah, Mike, I flew about half the time, but he never let me land it.
Oh,
Probably a smart
that's
man.
a good idea.
It's a very
well,
smart
Pip
man.
was very relaxed about it. He wasn't quite so relaxed when we went back to that little farmer's field, but his hands were getting noticeably closer to the yoke, but
White knuckles.
still managed
Again.
to get it down without too many problems.
He's a smart man as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I loved hearing that meetup audio. That was very, very cool.
Well, it was fun to meet such good friends, and friends not only of me personally, but of the show. So, yeah, great to see them all.
Excellent.
Steph,
All right.
what have you been up to?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't. They can't
I guess
hear Liz. They can't hear Liz anymore.
is running the
can
show
they?
now. Steph, what have you
I know,
been up
she's-
to? Or is that what I'm supposed to say? Okay. Well, Steph, since we're here in your lovely kitchen and the lakeside cottage, what have you been up to lately?
So nothing new or different for me. I haven't had any fun meetups or anything like that yet.
Yet? What do you mean?
So, well, you're here today, so
Yeah.
kind of counts
Yeah,
as a
why am
meetup,
I
I
here?
suppose.
That's not fun.
Thanks, Liz.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah, you are.
So obviously Jeff is here, and that's because a while back, maybe about 5 or 6 weeks ago,
Yeah.
when schedules came out, right?
Yeah.
Colonel Jeff got in touch with us, and he said, coming up to near the end of my airline flying career here, I've got a Charlotte to Jacksonville turn. If you guys want to come along, it's not the last flight, but if you'd been wanting to fly, that might be a convenient one. And here's a bunch of advance notice on it. And said, okay, great, yep.
Not so convenient for me, but very convenient
Well,
for you.
very convenient for me.
Yes.
So, it's here.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, sure, I'll go. And Jeff said, I'll look into it
Yeah.
if I can make it work, because you're busy schedule right now.
Yeah, I had to really look
Clear
closely at
the
my,
calendar.
at my calendar. I thought, well, believe it or not, I'm not doing anything.
So
Yeah.
that worked out.
Really?
And so, yeah, so that's the plan for tomorrow, actually, is to do this Charlotte to Jacksonville turn with Colonel Jeff.
And I'm
at the
hoping that I'll
controls.
be able to ride on the jump seat.
Oh, nice. Yep. I'll be occupying seat 1A for keeping up Neville's standards.
Yes.
Obviously. But now it turns out this might actually be very close to, if not his last actual
Could be
flight.
his
I'm not
last
sure if we're
actual
allowed to say that or not,
flight.
but sounds
No, we're
like
not supposed to say that.
sounds like
I'll go ahead and delete it.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think it's a surprise or a secret or anything like that. But yeah, so that'd be pretty cool if it actually turns out to be that way. So we'll have a little celebration, and be nice to be there for the official end of his airline career. So
after party.
So yeah, we're going to have a little gathering after the Jacksonville turn, and go probably go somewhere for some beers.
Yeah, we might go get a
and bite to eat
celebratory
or something like that.
ale of sorts. Yeah.
And we really
Yeah.
can't say much, just in case he's watching the show live. We can't really say. But
Well, it's actually more that we just haven't finalized any plans.
yeah, we're still trying to come up with an idea.
Yeah. So if anyone has any ideas for us.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it. And so it'll be great to see Jeff tomorrow. And so I was thinking at first I'd just fly up tomorrow morning from Atlanta and then do the turnaround to Jackson back and then fly back to Atlanta. And I thought, I like driving. So I thought, I'm going to drive. It's not that bad of a drive really from Atlanta. It's like 4 hours.
Couple hours.
And I thought, why don't I come a day early and we can record in your kitchen studio. So that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, especially when we kind of realized we had to move. Well, thought we needed to move the show date and time. I think it worked out better for everyone. In the
we
end,
do apologize for that. We were supposed to do the show yesterday, and then kind of at the last minute, some scheduling issues came up, and so we shifted to today. So here we are. So I'm glad that I'm glad it worked out that way. Actually,
yeah, me too. It'll be a lot of fun.
All right. So. Anything else besides the?
Gosh, I got nothing else than that. It's just been same story for the past month and a half.
Not as
work.
Yeah. So that's right. Here we go. Work. So, and just like me, work, not, no work, no work. Still, nothing has changed for me as far as anticipated date of training in October. So we'll see how that goes. I should know something in a few days when they come out with the simulator schedules for training. So maybe I'll be on the October schedule. We'll see. I had the opportunity to meet up with someone that you may have heard of. In fact, the last episode, Nick met up with a gentleman named Graham Fig in the London area, at Farnborough to be exact.
Absolutely.
And he even mentioned that he was going to be coming to the United States and to Atlanta. And there's an opportunity that maybe we could get together. And that happened. And so last Saturday, I met Graham at a place for some coffee and a little bit of a brunch. And I recorded some audio. Hello, APG community. I'm Captain Jeff. You may have heard of me. I do this show, Airline Pilot Guy. Anyway, I don't know why I'm saying that. I am sitting actually in my car because we've just enjoyed a wonderful breakfast brunch at what's the name of the place?
Companion. Am I doing something? Oh, I'm sorry.
Like Companion, but it's cup because it's coffee and breakfast
Gotta
stuff
keep track
and
of
brunch
that
stuff,
time.
and it was just wonderful. We're in Atlanta, and I'm with Graham Fig. Now, that might kind of ring a bell. Maybe that sounds a little familiar to you, and the reason for that is that
that's fine.
Last
that's
episode,
great.
You heard Graham with Captain Nick over in a pub, I think, or no, the Aviator Hotel at Farnborough.
You know, I don't like to be on air.
And we mentioned actually on the last episode that we were going to be, or Graham was going to be in Atlanta, and that he might have the opportunity to get together with me, or I might have the opportunity to get together with him. Actually, that's more of the truth. And so here we are. It's a Saturday morning. Actually, now it's Saturday afternoon. And we've been together now for several hours talking aviation and food.
Private
and
meetup,
what?
A private meetup.
A private meetup, yes. It's been awesome. We could probably talk for many, many more hours, but unfortunately, we both have schedules to attend to. But anyway, so I just wanted to do a quick, well, I guess it's not really that quick anymore because I've been yapping for way too long. But anyway, you don't want to hear me anymore. You want to hear Graham. So I'm going to bring the microphone closer to Graham's mouth, and he's going to say something just very, very witty and compelling and something that you're just never going to be able to forget. How's that for pressure?
Good morning, APGers, crew, and listeners alike. I did the double header. Unusual. I met Captain Nick on Thursday morning, and I've met Captain Jeff on Saturday morning. Who can say they've ever done that in 2 different continents? Amazing. I've had a love for general aviation my whole life. It's been interrupted by working for airlines and corporate jet piloting and what have you. But I've loved it all. I've been busy my whole life flying and aviating. And the strength is the people you meet through this wonderful world that we seem to shrink. And we get to meet people who have incredible talents, able to meet around the world. And that's what I love about what I do here. It's sprinkled by coffee and red wine, as they know so well now. And I've loved everyone I've always met. And I'm privileged enough to be able to do that.
And speaking of sprinkling of red wine and coffee, you're going to have to change your shirt because there's all kinds of sprinkly stuff all over it.
Excellent. I'll do that. Jeff, thank you so much for hosting me this morning, picking me up here, being such a hospitable podcaster and guest. And really, I feel part of the APG family.
Well, you are. And all of you out there listening are part of our family. And it's so nice to be able to get to actually meet up with all of you, or some of you, many of you, in person. Unfortunately, in this COVID time, it's a little bit difficult to do. Oh, yeah, you put that mask back on. So that hopefully when this whole pandemic thing resolves, we'll be able to get together in bigger groups and share our love, our passion for aviation and for all the things that surround it, like all the amazing stories that Graham has about his flying career, all the places that he's visited around the world. It's just amazing. I'm just blown away by his world traveler status, all the experiences he's had, all the food that he's eaten, and all the red wine that he has drunk. No, I didn't say he's drunk. I know he might have to fly later today, so he's not drunk, but he has had some red wine at other, drunken life. But not today. He has not had any alcohol whatsoever, as far as you know. No, as far as I know. Anyway, so that is it. Always a pleasure to meet up with the APG community, but especially special. That doesn't sound very good. I'll have to edit this out in post.
Honored to have met you too. Thank you so
Very much my honor.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and all your listeners. Wonderful to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And now back to you all in the studio. Yay. We're back in the studio. Thank you, Graham and Jeff, for that nice little meetup audio last Saturday. Well, it turns out that Graham stayed in the Atlanta area for a few extra days, and he called me up on Sunday evening late and said, I'm going to meet up with my niece tomorrow, or cousin, some kind of a family relationship, at the same place that we met up on Saturday, and would love to have you join us. Turns out that the place is closed on Monday, so we ended up going to a Starbucks, and not actually inside of a Starbucks, but on the outside, because they still weren't allowing people in. But it was nice, it wasn't too hot and humid, and so I got to meet Nadia. As I said, I think it's his. Maybe it's his cousin. And she's a lovely lady who has a podcast of her own, and she also either works for or just recently worked for CNN in Atlanta, and so that was a really nice time. And then after we had our coffee and whatever breakfast items, Graham and I went over to the DeKalb Peachtree Airport, PDK. And we ended up, I got a tour of his corporate jet, a Gulfstream 4. And there's a picture there in the video. We'll have this in the show notes if you want to see the picture of myself and Graham in the G4, a very, very nice airplane. And that's us inside the cockpit. And then the other one here, I'll have to switch the screen to show
I was just going to say, what is it with the matching black t-shirts and blue check shirts?
They got the memo.
Yeah,
they got the memo.
He when he called me the night before, he said, look, we need to coordinate. And so this is what I plan on wearing if you have something like that in your wardrobe. And so, yeah, we kind of, I don't know, you know, I didn't even realize that until you mentioned it, actually. We have similar tastes in fashion, I guess. Anyway, here's another shot of us in front of, I believe you're seeing that.
You two, at least you two could have stood up. I mean, it looks a bit odd with you.
Yeah. We're trying to trick people, see if we could swap places and that kind of thing.
About the same height as the nose wheel, yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, very, very sexy jet, actually. This Gulfstream G4, very, very nice, a luxury plush interior. It's about 20 years old, the airplane, but it doesn't look or feel that old. I love the smell of these corporate airplanes. You walk in, it just smells like that leather,
leather and
smell.
fine like woods.
An old man's must.
What?
No, musk. No. But yeah, Ron Burgundy. It smelled like Ron Burgundy.
There you go. It's an old bourbon.
And then all the
I can't even repeat that quote from that movie on air here because
because family show,
not appropriate.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Liz. I am aware of what it's called.
Let's see, and then of course the wonderful, the best smell in the absolute world is when you got outside the airplane and all these jets are burning all the jet fuel around you. That the smell of burnt jet fuel is just, I love it. They should make a cologne with burnt jet fuel. Anyway, so had a great time getting a nice full classy tour of the G4.
Not sure how well that would work at my office though.
Yeah,
that would be a weird
I'm just
scent.
wondering what kind of people you're going to attract with a cologne like that.
Well,
hairy old pilot.
Yeah, it can't be.
Already do.
That's what I was going to say. It's already questionable at best.
Might be an improvement.
Right, moving on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Before I do that, let me tell you, and we've talked about these masks before. Pasadena Brian.
Pasadena Brian. You had it right the first time.
Gosh darn it. Also known as Brian Coleman, his real name. Yeah, I don't know why I call him Passenger Brian. Yeah. Anyway, I kind of gave him a bad time about not sending me a mask. He sent me a mask to make me feel bad and guilty. He said, Captain Jeff, thank you so much for all your help and friendship. Cheers, Brian. And so this is from Tab Fabric. This one is awesome. It's a remove before flight face mask. Still in its nice sealed packaging. Thank you, Liz. She's the one that helps me with my words, if she can. And
I'd love to have that job. It could be hilarious.
Yeah, no, I don't need your help. Thank you. You're fine, Nick. Just don't say anything.
Okay.
We should mention this one too. This one's from
Jet's girlfriend.
Jet Fuel Java.
Jet Fuel Java.
Got it right? Okay.
Yep.
His girlfriend made these masks for us. So I have finally received mine thanks to Captain Jeff for bringing it over. So thank you very much.
I actually remembered.
Very cool.
I also brought over the little koozie covering up her beer can, her emotional support beer. Liz got those for the crew. Thank you, Liz, for that. So now I still have to deliver one to Nick and Liz. I don't know why you didn't have one sent to yourself, but oh well.
I'm looking forward to meeting up with you again and receiving a big pile of bits.
Yep.
Brilliant.
In about 2 years.
Did you want to mention that item that was sent to you, Nick, on the? No?
We could do, except I can't remember exactly the name of it now.
I can't either. And it's on the. It's on the.
Let's just take that bit out, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's on the desk at home. I don't have it with me, so I don't remember the name of the title of the book either. Anyway, we'll talk about that on the next show. Last show we talked about the beautiful city of Old Fangak and New Fangak. I was convinced that there was a New Fangak, but I think that it's just Fangak. And I'm trying to, it's a disclaimer here just in case the lawyers are going to be looking for me and defacing or defaming their lovely little town. And I did a little bit of research and again went back to it, and Nick was corrected. The airstrip is new. So it's the new Fangak airstrip. So just wanted to make sure, just set the record straight so we can get above 50%.
Hey.
Let's see. Also, again, to keep us above 50%, we received some anonymous feedback from someone. And this concerns a segment on episode 438 called Test Pilot. It was one of our news items. Test Pilot at Center of 737 MAX Investigation. He says, the reason I'm writing is that the title of this segment, although probably not your fault, yeah, it was not our title. It was whoever was writing the article, puts you below the 50% mark. Uh-oh. You see, the gent involved was not a test pilot at Boeing. He was a technical pilot. What's the difference? Well, I'm glad you asked. The job of the test pilot in the context of a project like the 737 MAX is as part of an extensive multidisciplinary engineering team to ensure a safe design and one that is compliant to Title 14, Part 25 of the Federal Regulations, aka the FARs. Most of your listeners will never have heard of Part 25, but in my opinion, it's one of the regulations that keeps our aerospace sector so very, very safe. The Part 25 certification process involves a myriad of engineering tests, everything from determining the aircraft's performance to its handling qualities, including stability and control, to structural aspects, to how its systems function and how the human and design interact. This compliance includes assessing the impact of failures like the one that occurred on the tragic Lion Air and Ethiopian mishaps. This role of the test pilot is essentially the same whether the test pilot is employed by an aircraft manufacturer or if they are a test pilot for the FAA. Safe and compliant to Part 25. That's the job. Think engineering. By contrast, a technical pilot, which I guess which is what Mr. Fortner was at Boeing, is concerned with training and other operational aspects. This is a very important job, to be sure. Just like test pilots at a company have a counterpart at the FAA, so too do company technical pilots have an FAA counterpart. These counterparts in the FAA work for flight standards and a section called the Aircraft Evaluation Group, the AEG. Flight Standards is the same overarching organization that oversees a specific operator like Acme. Think operations and training. These disciplines, engineering and or operations, test pilots versus technical pilots, are related but distinct. They work closely together, but they have a different job. So when Mr. Fortner is described, and trust me, you're not the first to do so, as a test pilot, it simply shows that the speaker doesn't understand what they're talking about. Well, anybody could tell you that. I don't know what I'm talking about. The information associated with Mr. Fortner was removed from the engineering work that was done to Part 25 certify the 737 MAX, including the work to define the hazards associated with a myriad of failure cases. In the case of a single erroneous angle of attack signal, clearly engineering, including the test pilots, got it wrong. That much is clear, was understood within days of the first mishap, and that's been acknowledged. But this error was not within the purview or scope of technical pilots like the gent of whom you spoke on 438. He goes on to say, one of the sources of confusion in all of this is the term certification. Certification, and therefore certificates, come in many different varieties. Engineering work results in a type certificate. Then some airplanes have a training requirement, like all airliners, and that requires a training certificate under, for example, Part 141 or 142. And they then operate at an airline, and there it comes down to an operating certificate. Example, Part 121, like Acme. Oh, and making the airplanes requires a different qual, a production certificate. And to fly an airplane needs, you got it, an airworthiness certificate. So when one says certification or certificate, it's important to understand of what you speak. Different groups work on each of these different certification efforts. I hope this helps understanding a bit. Just say technical pilot when discussing the gent, and you'll be back up above 50%. Thanks again to all for a super show. Be safe and be well. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to say technical. Okay, technical pilot. Woo!
Clears it all up.
If you say it twice, does that mean we get?
Oh,
to
we do. Yeah,
100%?
technical pilot. We're at 100%.
Hey, good job.
Yay! All right. Oops. Taco and
dogs
Truman
are,
are barking.
concerned
They heard
about
me
the
clap.
barking.
Well, you know what? I appreciate the fact that this anonymous person who knows an awful lot about certification and test pilots and tech pilots
Technical
and
pilots.
stuff. Yeah. I'm glad he took the time to kind of clarify all those things.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff.
Now, was it was in the news article that we were reading about it that referred to him as a test pilot, and
Yeah.
we did not do our homework to
Yeah,
determine whether
you know,
that was.
honestly, when I
but,
don't even, I kind
wouldn't
of
have known
regret that
that
we
was
even covered that story, because after we started doing it, I'm thinking, I don't even really know why we're talking about this, but because it seemed kind of interesting at the time. But oh well, there you go. So yeah, show planning is top notch, Liz says. No, just kidding. She's being sarcastic. Okay, so we took care of that, and heck, that's all the items that I had to cover.
All right.
It's time for the coffee fund. You going to sing with me?
No.
No. Tell you what, I won't even sing.
You can sing. I'm just gonna.
Okay. I
Drink my beer.
love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG. I really do. Love the APG community. And coffee. And tea. And beer. Still have a little bit left in my can. All right. The Coffee Fund, your way to contribute to the show in a financial way. And since the last episode, we have a couple different ways to do it. Since the last episode, we had a couple of gentlemen do recurring donations using the Coffee Fund Classic method. Those gentlemen you're asking are whom? Vigner Gwanson and Jason Kuntz. Thank you very much, for both of you, for using the Coffee Fund Classic method. The other way to do it is to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. And yay, we have a new executive producer. His name, Rory Mullen. So thank you, Rory, for signing up to be a patron at patreon.com. Now, if you are interested at all in helping us offset some of our expenses and buy cups of coffee and cases of beer and help out with the costs of meetups and such, please take a look at joining the Coffee Fund cadre or the Coffee Bar Club by going to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. We will too.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, it's time for our feedback. Everybody doing okay? We need to take a break at all? Ooh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love the
Pink.
little the pink jacket for my beer. This beer that's inside of this. Here, let me show you. Dun, 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 is, ooh, I like Jade. She is nice. Look at that. It's even a pretty picture. Are we still on the air?
I was just going to check and see that.
Sometimes when I don't hear anything from Nick, I'm wondering if we're still online or not.
I wasn't going to mention it, but we
probably better if we weren't. But anywho, yep, we are. And we are now ready to talk about some feedback. If you're ready.
I am ready.
Well, Sean, right there, Sean, sent us a couple pieces of feedback. He said, while the following is probably well known to aviators, I'd like to point out to the APG community the large collection of publications that the FAA produces. Some are surprisingly well written and approachable, even for people with no aviation experience or background. Did I mention that they're free to download? And a few of them are regarding how to fly airplanes, the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge, the PHAK or FAC. How would you? I don't know.
I just always knew it as the Handbook
Pilot's
of Aeronautical
Handbook of
Knowledge.
Aeronautical Knowledge. Okay. There's a nice link to that. The Airplane Flying Handbook, the AFH, and how planes and engines work. And
The flying handbook, is that the one you toss across the room?
That could be the flying handbook.
Yes. For when you need to.
Very aggressive flying handbook.
Yeah. Not passive.
Not
just
passive.
actual,
That's actual
the
aggressive.
Yeah. Oh, and I know this one by its acronym.
Oh.
Federal Aviation Regulations.
Yes.
The FARs.
Yeah. The also known as what? Title 14, CFR something or other. Yeah, whatever.
The Code of Federal
Regulations.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
CFR.
Somewhere earlier in that show
CFR,
we talked
Code
about
of
it.
Federal yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the FARs. There's a nice little link to that. There's also, he didn't include it here, but maybe if I remember, I'll include the link as well to the Aeronautical Information Manual. The AIM is also available for free.
Sure. There's a lot of
good stuff.
Free information through the
Absolutely.
FAA.gov.
Sean also sent in this. He says, so I'm listening to APG 433. Henry's question about if you could fly any airplane. Given the dumpster fire that ensued, I see a challenge. When the gang finally gets together again, I propose it happen at a GA airport. I guess not a Georgia airport, but General Aviation
It could
airport.
be a General Aviation airport in Georgia.
In a plane,
A
not
GA.
a jet. Now, that's not fair because you'd have the advantage here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's straightforward.
Yeah, not for me.
Okay.
The more primitive, the better. Well, then maybe I'd be okay because the primitive
Why'd you
airplanes.
Get you a Cub without any
Not
electric.
that I'm suggesting Pip's airplane was primitive, but
Well, I think you kind of are.
I think now that you've said that,
Okay.
that was the
Yeah.
suggestion.
I mean, to lower the flaps, you had to pull up at the handbrake. I got really confused me.
Well, that's not the handbrake. Don't pull those up on the ground if you want to park and not move. It won't.
Well, yeah, I must admit, I was thinking the handbrake actually looked like the flap lever, so I'm very confused now.
I'm confused now myself. He says, stick a few cameras in the plane. Let's watch the crew each try to pre-flight the plane, fuel the plane, somehow manage to get the airplane started, airborne, and back on the ground safely.
No problem. I got this, Sean.
Yeah, I think this Steph would probably win. Whenever this happens, please give the APG community plenty of heads up so we can make sure we are nowhere near that airspace.
Well, I mean,
Also
what could
wise
go
advice.
wrong? You got fixed undercarriage, so you can't forget to put that down.
Nothing could go wrong.
You've got a mixture. Yeah, just keep that richish. You've got throttle, that's not hard.
Richish.
Yeah, you got a carburetor heat, so put that on for landing. That's about it, really, isn't it? What else is there to do?
know. Nothing.
Just
You
don't
got it.
mistake the handbrake for
pilot
the flap lever.
Good idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll let you know, Sean, if we get around to doing this. I guarantee you we're never going to do this because it would be very embarrassing for most of us. Thanks for your suggestion, though, Sean, and those links to the free literature from the AA. This is great. Now, let's see, Mike. Mike who? Who sent Mike? This might have been from a tweet, maybe from Michael Carroll's, if I'm remembering. No? Oh. Where's it from, Liz? I think I put this in here, didn't I? Yeah, I think it was Mike Carroll's. Yeah. I'm going to give him credit. So, yeah, go ahead and play it. Hit it.
Well, I think I might have had my last flight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared I won't get back in the air. And coronavirus just isn't fair. And I got waiters to the left of me, doctors to the right. Here I am, I'm getting furloughed with you. Yes, I'm getting furloughed with you. Yes, I'm getting furloughed too. Here I am, I'm getting furloughed with you. Woo! Good job, girls. One take.
One take.
One take.
Brilliant. Yeah, very good.
That's someone
Thoroughly impressed.
Someone at our at Acme, I believe, who did that, and she is close to the bottom of the seniority list and is at risk for being furloughed. We're hoping crossing fingers that we don't have to furlough anybody, but she might be in that group. Very talented person, though.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're listening to the audio, you need to check out the video or check out the show notes, and you'll see, watch this video, because she has 2 young daughters that are on either side of her as her backup singers, I guess,
Yes.
and tambourine players and ukulele.
I think it was
strummers.
ukulele.
Yep, she's stuck in the middle of her 2 daughters. Right.
With an overabundance of aviator sunglasses.
Yes.
Brilliant.
And
Very good.
Pilot paraphernalia. By the way, the 2 daughters are wearing tags that say UNA, and that is the term that they're using at Acme Airlines now for pilots who are unassigned.
Ah.
So it doesn't sound for unaccompanied.
Not at this point.
Okay.
Yep. All right. I thought that was. Thank you. Let's see. Let's move on with item 3. No, Liz is saying that's too long, and we're getting close to that time. You know what? Let's just go to the plain tale. So, without further ado, here is this week's installment. The band played on.
The old pilots playing tales. The band played on. Charles Augustus Lindbergh led a somewhat controversial life, but it was his fame as a pilot that won the American people over. It was Lindbergh who was the first to fly solo in his specially modified aircraft, the Spirit of St. Louis, from Roosevelt Field in New York to Paris non-stop. On landing, a crowd of 150,000 stormed the field, dragged Lindbergh out of the cockpit, and carried him around above their heads for nearly half an hour in celebration of his record-breaking flight. Upon his heroic return to the United States aboard craft escorted him up the Potomac River into the Washington Navy Yard, where President Calvin Coolidge awarded him the Distinguished Flying Cross. There to celebrate with musical accompaniment was the United States Navy Band. Now, a story about the U.S. Navy Band may not seem to be my usual fare in tales, but bear with me. And I must thank serving band member and APG listener Tuber Tony for suggesting the topic for this story. The U.S. Navy Band has a long and illustrious history that stretches back to 1798 and the USS Ganges. The Ganges was a fast-sailing merchantman that was purchased by the newly formed Navy and taken into service as a man-of-war. Her first captain, Richard Dale, was ordered to assemble a new crew, which was to include 2 musicians to serve as Marines, a fifer and a drummer. So started the U.S. Navy Band. The reason for the inclusion of musicians into military units stretches back to at least the 16th century, when each company of infantry would have a single drummer and fife player. They marched at the head of the company, providing uplifting marching tunes, but more importantly, they signaled orders that could be heard over the din of battle. By the mid-1800s, the fife and drum players had grown into a band, and more instruments were incorporated into what became the official United States Naval Academy Band, the oldest band in the U.S. Navy. By the First World War, and under the command of John Sousa, the first bandsman to be commissioned as an officer, the band had branched out into many independent groups, in addition to a large ensemble of 350 players who toured the country, playing in concert halls around the United States. The Navy Band had a growing reputation that spread around the world, and it was often included in missions overseas to entertain foreign dignitaries. So it was in the early 60s, when the United States was firmly entrenched in fighting the Cold War, that one of the fronts in this struggle was South America. Acting on the belief that the Soviet Union was attempting to expand its influence there, President Eisenhower traveled to South America on a goodwill mission dubbed Operation Amigo. In support of that mission, 93 members of the Navy Band departed on February the 6th, 1960, for a 30-day tour to perform at various functions and concerts for the President and other dignitaries. The first leg of the journey was a flight from Andrews Air Force Base to Trinidad, and from there the band was billeted on the USS Macon, a Navy cruiser. According to retired Commander Alan Beck, then a musician second class, over 90 musicians on a cruiser like that was, I think, a bit of a shock to the sailors who were on that ship. They weren't used to having musicians on board. The itinerary for the band showed a busy time. Whilst on the Macon, steaming to Rio de Janeiro, they played for the ship's company, as well as performing arrival and departure honours whenever they sailed in or out of port. They performed at an open-air theatre in La Plata and in the plaza in front of City Hall at Lomas de Zamora, near Buenos Aires. A small instrumental ensemble with their vocalists, the Sea Chanters, performed at a reception by the naval attaché at the Yacht Club. The Sea Chanters were and remain the official chorus of the United States Navy. They sing traditional music, including sea shanties, madrigals, and motets. A popular event, the Chanters also performed at a picnic for the crew of the Macon. Then, while the band and the President were visiting Buenos Aires, an unexpected request for an engagement at a state dinner back in Rio de Janeiro arrived. The Brazilian president had invited Eisenhower to an unscheduled reception at the U.S. Embassy in Rio de Janeiro on the evening of the 25th of February. The Navy Band were asked to provide semi-classical music for the reception. Early on the morning of the 25th, a small chamber orchestra of 18 enlisted men and one officer boarded a Navy Douglas R-6D, a military version of the DC-6 transport plane, for the flight to Rio de Janeiro. It was going to be a long day. Breakfast at 0500, and then the 1,200-mile flight. The band could travel in dress khakis, but the men were instructed to take a black bow tie, white mess jacket, trousers with gold stripe, white shirt and white cap, in addition to their instruments. They were expected to be at the reception by 8:15 in the evening, where they would play ruffles and flourishes, waltzes, maybe a Brazilian march, and a little Sousa. According to the orders archived at the Washington Navy Yard, it would go on until after midnight. The DC-6 was a reliable, long-serving, four-engine passenger airliner, which usually had room for around 56 passengers, depending on the version, but could seat more. It was developed during the Second World War, but didn't fly until 1946, and it would become Douglas's most successful four-engine piston-powered airliner. The Navy crew of 7 had prepared the aircraft quickly, and then embarked their 38 passengers without delay. They took off from Buenos Aires on time at 8:25 in the morning for the 5-hour flight, which progressed without incident, northeast up the coast. When they got to Rio, the weather was pretty overcast, but quite reasonable below, although as the Navy aircraft began to position for its approach, it would have been in and out of cloud. A journalist, David Richardson, saw what happened next. "I happened to glance up at Sugarloaf Mountain," he said, "and noticed that it was shrouded in thick cloud. Just at that moment, a big four-engine plane, or what was left of it, came tumbling out of the cloud. It spiraled crazily. The tail and rear section were missing. From the chopped-off fuselage, a whole array of objects came spilling out as if it were a sort of ghastly cornucopia. I thought I saw a human figure in the falling debris. The plane hit the water with a splash that shot a sheet of white spray into the air. Then came the bizarre sight of the plane's tail section gliding slowly downward in a spiral until it fell gently into the water. Other objects fell at the same time. Then the scene was as placid as it was just before that horrible moment. The Navy DC-6 wasn't the only aircraft involved in this tragedy. The other was a DC-3 of Real Transportes Aéreos. The DC-3 had left Campos at 12:10 for the short flight to Rio de Janeiro. The aircraft reported at Porto das Queixas, about 25 miles northeast of Rio, at 12:58, maintaining 1,650 meters, but unable to stay clear of cloud. He was told to head for the Romeo Juliet NDB, about 3 miles north of the Sugarloaf Mountain, and the famous Copacabana Beach at 1,800 meters. At the same time, the Navy aircraft was south of Rio, descending from its cruise height, and initially also cleared to approach at 1,800 meters, but then this was changed to 1,500 meters. The time was 1:05 p.m., and both aircraft were heading for the same beacon over Santos Dumont Airport. With no radar, the controller was relying on position and height reports from the aircraft to ensure their safe separation. The DC-3 was climbing up to its cleared height of 1,800 meters, and the Navy DC-6 was descending to a lower height of 1,500 meters, with a requirement to call passing 1,800 meters. They were closing on each other at about 5 miles a minute. Perhaps realizing that the aircraft would have to cross in height to get to their cleared levels, and with no accurate way to tell exactly where the aircraft were, the controller changed his mind and reversed the clearances, instructing the Brazilian aircraft to descend to 1,500 meters, and the Navy aircraft to level at 1,800 meters. He did this quickly, without waiting for an acknowledgement from the DC-3, and, in addition, he was speaking Portuguese to the Brazilian aircraft and broken English to the Navy aircraft. Afterwards, the controller stated that the Navy crew were having difficulty in understanding his instructions, and at times he had to repeat them 3 times, which he did. Non-directional beacons like the one at Santos Dumont are very basic navigation aids which suffer from a myriad of possible errors. They have no range readout, so the only position information that can be gleaned is a bearing to or from the beacon or a position overhead when the aerial hunts as the signal is momentarily lost. The loop aerial in the receiving aircraft can give erroneous readings, such as sunrise or sunset when the ionosphere shifts, due to electrical interference from activity like thunderstorms, terrain errors from mountains or steep cliffs, which can distort the readings. The shoreline can refract the signal, and congestion of long and medium frequency radio stations can interfere. In addition to these common problems, the beacon that the Navy aircraft was approaching was known to be affected by the long metal cables of the cable car that carried people to the top of the Sugarloaf Mountain. Almost as soon as the controller finished making his calls, the DC-3 reported overhead the beacon at 1,700 meters, descending to 1,500 meters, and the controller cleared it to start its procedural approach. This involved a turn overhead that would take it across the path of the DC-6 twice. The controller stated that he received a report from the Navy aircraft stating that they were overhead the beacon, but it is possible the call was made early due to the problems inherent in those early beacons. The controller cleared the Navy aircraft to descend to 1,500 meters and then to 1,200 meters. There was no recording equipment to corroborate these radio calls, and the controller's initial statement differed in several areas from his final one. Witnesses on the ground state that the collision occurred in a cloud bank, where visibility would have been at a minimum. Though there was a hole through which some saw the actual impact, and it appeared that neither aircraft took avoiding action. The right wing of the Brazilian DC-3 was severed, and the tail of the Navy aircraft torn off. Both planes tumbled into the sea around Rio's Sugarloaf Mountain. All 35 people on the Brazilian DC-3 perished, and of the 38 on the naval aircraft, 35 died, including all 19 members of the Navy band. The 3 survivors, all in the tail section, were playing a game of poker that saved their lives when the back end of the aircraft was cut from the DC-6 and fluttered out of the cloud to land on the surface of the water. Credit must go to the Brazilian rescue services, who arrived promptly and gave aid to the injured survivors. There were 2 inquiries into the cause of the crash, both of which centered around the communication between the controller and the 2 aircraft, but they were wildly different in their conclusions. The Brazilian Air Ministry report stated that the accident was due to errors made by personnel, namely the pilot of the DC-6, and his improper piloting procedure when flying on authorized instrument flight. They concluded that the pilot disobeyed the instructions transmitted by Rio Approach Control. The Navy report was considerably more detailed and, hardly surprisingly, came up with a markedly different cause. The investigation stated that the accident could not be attributed to either of the aircraft involved, the manner in which either was operated, or to any significant actions or errors of the crews. Nor did the language problems, the lack of modern air navigation, control aids, and the methods of aircraft traffic control used at Rio de Janeiro, although extremely material, attain the status of immediate causes of the accident according to the evidence presented. However, had these matters been different, and in any respect an improvement of air safety, this accident might well have been avoided. These problems were, however, common to the flights of all aircraft in the area and were well known by the pilots and controllers to exist. It was evident that uncertainty on the part of the controller as to the original position of the DC-3, his underestimation of the time factors, including aircraft reaction time, his lack of appreciation of the communication difficulties, and the increasing seriousness of the situation combined to create the conditions which led to the collision. An accident report can never come close to describing the human cost of such an event. One bereaved widow recalled that, as the terrible news filtered in, I was watching TV and getting my oldest daughter ready for school, she said. A bulletin came on the television. I got up and just started roaming around the house, and the children kept running behind me. They thought I was playing. The official death notification came that night. She recalled telling her children, my oldest was 6, she said. I took her in my lap and I told her that her daddy had been killed and that he wasn't coming home. She cried, and then she got down and went on playing. I remember thinking, boy, I wish I could do that. Pregnant at the time, she went into early labor and was rushed to the hospital where she had to remain for some time. She missed the funeral and has never been to her husband's gravesite. I look back on it now and think, I don't know how I got through that or how any of us got through it, she said. To this day, news bulletins on the television still leave me anxious. I want to get up and leave the room. Memorial services were held on the Macon to honor the lives and service of those who had died. An excerpt from a special memorial section of the Macon's cruise book reads, "They were ambassadors in the highest and best sense, speaking a universal language to the hearts of men without regard of border, breed, or birth. What seemed to be a voyage which would be remembered as the President's cruise will always be recorded in our hearts as the cruise of the United States Navy Band." After the crash, the concert orchestra was never reconstituted, but despite the tragedy that had befallen them, the remaining members of the band played on 8 more times before they flew home.
Wow, that was a cheerful one. Thank you. No, it was an amazing story. Very sad.
It was. Thanks very much to our friend Tony, who obviously plays the tuba in the Washington.
Wait a minute. Tuba, Tony? Oh, no,
well, I'm
get it.
assuming he plays the tuba.
No, he does. You're right. I'm just playing around there.
It could be trumpet Tony, but he's not.
No, it's tuba Tony. Yes, he's a tuba guy.
Yeah, he came up with the idea, and anytime you get such a catastrophe that affects a single unit so much, I always find it particularly poignant. So thanks very much indeed for that.
Interesting accident.
Yeah, because it actually highlights, and we're talking back in 1960, a few things that are your pet peeves, like air traffic controllers speaking in 2 different languages to aircraft that they're controlling who are right next door to each other. I think I'm all on my own again.
Yeah, I know. I'm so confused.
Hi.
Hey. We're not entirely sure what the
did you miss much?
Technological gremlin is.
The odd thing is that this laptop is on my
There's another laptop over here.
hotspot,
Yeah.
and at the same every time the house Wi-Fi has
glitches.
a hiccup,
Yeah.
it affects this one, which it shouldn't. I don't get how that is working. Doesn't make sense.
There you go. I was just saying, though, that particular story highlights one of your pet peeves, of course, and that was back in the 1960s.
Yeah, communication, right?
Yeah.
And the different languages.
Yeah. Controllers using a native language and English, so 2 different aircraft in the same piece of sky. It just doesn't make
help
sense.
with situational awareness.
Right. And it takes a layer of safety, I think, a critical layer of safety out of
And of course, in those days, there was no standardization of levels of English. So nowadays, if you want to work in aviation and need to have a good level of English, you need to be able to pass a particular level. I think it's level 4. And have that certified. So, that sort of thing didn't exist way back.
There are several people in Brazil, as a matter of fact, that listen to our show specifically to kind of help maintain their proficiency in English. And I really feel sorry for them.
I was going to say, I'm not sure that's a approved study method.
That's why I brought Nick on the show, because
if
at
there
least
is anyone
from
that country who remembers this incident, always enjoy getting feedback on the tale. So, I'm interested to know what they think.
Although I will say maybe it is a good source because, our grammatical mistakes are probably common grammatical mistakes.
Yeah, we're very common people.
Yeah. And, it's not necessarily what we're saying is not book
English. Yeah. True.
That's very true.
So even though phraseology and things should be standardized, you'll often find non-standard things slipping in, and it's still important to know what's being said.
And of course, if there are people from that area who listen, then I'm going to come clean and apologize already for my pronunciation of the place names involved in that story. So no idea. Do my best.
Are you kidding me? We always nail place names.
Oh yeah, of course we do. Particularly the African ones, Jeff.
Yes, we got that.
Russian.
On Russian. We
Oh yeah.
do a fabulous job with all of it.
Despite all the offers of assistance we get from our listeners going, if you have any problems, just let me know. The trouble is time factor is usually against us.
Well, usually it just comes up in the article that you're reading and you go,
Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Don't know.
Oh, and by the way, before we move on, I love the Navy hymn. That music is just some of the, that composition is one of the best.
Absolutely, yeah. And Tony sent me a couple of links to authorized pieces of music, so we shouldn't have any hassle.
Excellent. We'll find out for sure.
Yes.
Our friends at YouTube will send me a nice little love note.
Oh yeah, they do love you.
They do. They really do. Just like my crew.
Yay!
All right. I know. I love you guys too. All right. Where were we before
Three.
we went? 3? Okay. This is from Peter. Hello, APG cast and crew. It's been a delight to have recently discovered your excellent weekly podcast during this COVID crazy era. When I reached the point of being too fed up with the gloomy daily COVID news on weekday radio, I decided to start pursuing podcasts to satisfy my areas of interest. And boom, that's how I found the APG podcast. I classify myself and my flying brothers equally as airplane nutters, as we come from a flying family, with my late father Michael going from RAAF mechanic working on de Havilland mosquitoes in late World War II to country Australia flying schools and weekend barnstorming in the mid-40s, through to being a check and training captain for Trans-Australian Airlines. TAA was eventually swallowed up into the Qantas brand after his retirement. He retired in 1983, having spent my childhood years piloting DC-3s, Vickers Viscounts, Convaires, Fokker F-27s, MD-80s, and finally the venerable 727s. He got to see all places of our country, flying into all the big cities and regional towns across Australia, as well as doing the bush flying to outback stations and isolated communities. He and I went gliding in his early retirement years, and while I cut my flying teeth in the gliders, Father totally enjoyed slotting comfortably back into a slightly barnstorming mode as one of the club's trusty tug pilots. He never really liked the gliders, but he loved flying the tug planes, where he could revert back to wannabe Spitfire pilot persona while breaking away from the glider and making a quick dash for the ground and the next glider. Oops, excuse me, hook on. That was a little snack bowl there.
Let me move this out of the way.
That was a quick dash for the ground, wasn't it?
Remove the hazards from the.
It's okay, Grandpa. All right. Let me reread that one here. But he loved flying the tug planes, where he could revert back to wannabe Spitfire pilot persona while breaking away from the glider and making a quick dash for the ground and the next glider hook on. Sadly, my father did not get to enjoy a long and full retirement, with his passing at way too early an age, a mere 8 years after retirement. But his lifetime of smoking might have had a lot to do with that. And he says, put down that cigarette, folks. My brothers and I have, for the benefit of our airplane adventures and social gatherings, adopted self-appointed military ranks to assist others in telling us apart from each other and for us to have a bit of fun. My oldest brother, General Nuisance, has worked for Virgin Australia for 16 years, with most of his time spent on 737-700s and 800s. Also a brief foray into Embraers before Virgin realized that they couldn't make money with them. He also enjoyed some time with another Australian regional carrier, flying Shorts Skyvans, Twin Otters, and all marks of the Dash 8 family. With Virgin Australia going through its COVID-era troubles, he is probably facing an unplanned end to his career very soon. I'm sure he'd prefer to keep on for a few more years, though. My other brother, General Pest, and I, General Disarray, fly in the sport pilot arena, which what is called the LSA category in your part of the world. 2-seat LSAs gives us a huge amount of fun and opportunity to hoot around our skies and see some of the sights while avoiding local skydivers and staying below the big stuff. It's way too much paperwork whenever you're too close to either of those, so it's best to keep away from them, I find. I live a short 5-minute drive from my local airfield just to the north of Brisbane. Captain Nook will point that out on the map for you all. Okay, go ahead and point that out. Flying out of either Redcliffe or Caboolture. Again, Nick can assist.
Caboolture, Queensland.
Caboolture, Queensland. Oh, I need to turn off the speaker, don't I?
Caboolture.
Yeah.
In Queensland.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your
welcome
help with that. Hang on. I got a little slight pause here. I forgot to turn off the speaker. Boom. Okay. Anyway, he says either Redcliffe or Caboolture. Again, let's see, give us the joy of spotting whales, enjoying some short air touring, or just embracing the joy of being in the air. Recent events in Oz and some discussions on APG regarding a certain beer have prompted me to write you in a hopefully fruitful attempt to get read out on the program. Please find attached a photograph of a US $20 note as a helpful bribe. A photograph. And there's more where that came from.
More photographs?
Yeah, nice. Firstly,
Very nice,
with
Peter.
regards the recent farewell to the last Qantas 747-400ER from service, I was fortunate enough to be at Brisbane Airport on the day of the farewell flight of Oscar Echo Juliet, and I reflected on my own links to the 747 in Australia. I can still recall with great clarity the Sunday morning in 1971. Yes, that's 49 years ago, folks, when the very first Qantas Jumbo arrived over Brisbane and did a few laps overhead the wider city area. Its elegance was silhouetted nicely in the morning light. Later that day, APD, Airline Pilot Dad, took his airplane nutter children out to the airport for a walkthrough of the imposing new 747B. The impression it left on the three of us has never left us. Whenever we three brothers have traveled to air shows in Australia, Avalon, and in the US, Oshkosh 2015, we've always sought out the comparative experience of standing next to the biggest and mightiest aircraft on show, always trying to see if we could capture or emulate that childhood memory of seeing how damn big that airplane actually is. And so it was poetically symmetrical to have been there for both the first day and the last day of Qantas 747 services in Australia. And it was cool to learn that, according old boarding passes, Oscar Echo Juliet brought me home to Oz from both the UK and the USA. She served us very well indeed, and hopefully she will serve someone else for a while and not end up as beer cans too soon. Secondly, to Captain Nick regarding your RAA of service, where were you based? What did you fly? Do you have any memorable stories of flying operations around the great Southland? And finally, did you pay your bar tab before you left?
With pictures of $20 bills.
Yeah, they're still chasing after him. We are in a bit of financial down here at the moment. So we've been going over the books looking for unpaid accounts. And military pilots on exchange seem to have a global reputation as frequent bad debtors. He's on to you, man. So I guess because he's a new listener, he doesn't know that you flew the F-18.
That's right. And I had to go on a Mackie, but that was crap. And a Mirage, which was okay, a bit like a Phantom, in its way it handled, and the buffet and all that stuff. I paid my way, as you did in Australia, in rounds, which meant you couldn't really escape until you'd bought everybody in your circle of friends a beer and had a beer bought by every one of them. So it's very hard to get out of the bar on time.
Sounds like a lot of beer drinking to me.
Oh, there was. Yeah, definitely.
Well, He says, and finally, regarding that most hideous of poisons, the amber that just never properly quenches or satisfies, that demon swill that masquerades as an Aussie favorite.
Foster's, Australian for beer.
I simply don't see Foster's being bought, sold, or consumed anywhere here in Oz. I was at the local pub for dinner last night, and it was neither on tap or available in can or bottle. And
well, I don't believe we said it was on tap in Australia. We just said that they owned all the companies that brew a lot of the Australian beers.
That's true. Yeah. I thought we tried to set it straight, but
yeah.
Anyway. And the quizzical, disbelieving head tilt of the bar manager when I asked if there was any Foster's available made it very clear that Foster's is no longer a part of the Australian beer lexicon. It exists more as a living myth that all Aussies drink the stuff from soon after childbirth and that our rivers flow forth with it. No,
very good.
It is a horrid and awful beer. Someone else in some other corner of the world can have a Foster's if they want, but we will enjoy something else. Thanks very much. Pass me a cold James Squire IPA, please.
That sounds good.
That does sound good. I like to call it Jim Squire, though. Yeah, it's a little
You're on a more informal basis with him.
Informal, yeah. Some photos attached. I love the show and look forward every week to the information, good conversation, and good humor. Best blessings and blue skies to you all. And this is Peter Crook, a semi-retired teacher creature, LSA pilot, Patty dive master, appreciator of decent beers and single malts, and devoted airplane nutter. And I haven't been looking, but let's see. Have we shown his photograph? Okay. And if you could play the video clip with, I think you'll hear, maybe it'd be best if I found it. I think I have it in there. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to play it.
Good day, mate. Let's put another shrimp on the barbie.
Isn't that like everybody talks down there?
Well, and that's the phrase they say all the time. So it
All
gets
the
a bit
time.
repetitive after a while, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put all the great photos that Peter sent us in the show notes. And looks like you have a
He's
great
been
family.
to the United States Air Force Museum. Ah, very nice. And he's also flown in an airplane made of corrugated iron.
Which one was that one?
It's the one above. I'm assuming it's a Ford Trimotor or something similar.
Here, I need to scroll down a little bit here.
There's the second one from the bottom.
Second one. Oh, yeah, here we go. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. That's what that is.
Wonder if is that a trimotor?
That's,
Well, that's
yeah.
what I'm
That's what
guessing.
makes
There's only one corrugated. Oh, there's two. There's the Junkers Trimotor, and I think the Ford, and I think they're both made
Well,
of corrugated.
they have those usually at Oshkosh, right? So,
yeah.
and they took a trip to Oshkosh.
yes,
They're wearing
we
Oshkosh
watched it.
t-shirts in, yes.
He also
in
has
the
a
picture.
nice photo of his father, I believe, in the left seat of a jet. Not sure which one, because he's got that little microphone on the
Yeah, I see
yoke there that I don't recognize. I don't think that's anything I've ever flown.
It's a Boeing.
Is it?
I don't think it's an Airbus.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really look like a
he
Boeing,
mentioned
though.
a whole bunch of other types of
Yeah.
aircraft that were not.
Oh yeah, they
that were neither
flew
going
some Fokkers,
for.
didn't he?
Yeah, it might
I
be
don't
a
know which of those Fokkers it was.
Well, those Fokkers.
Little one or
they
big
get
one?
everywhere. That's true.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter, for sending in the feedback and.
Oh, and I love the
photos.
picture of them in their sports utility aircraft or whatever they call that, sports light. With the one
Light
with the
sport
metal bar
aircraft.
right in front of their foreheads.
Mm-hmm.
So if you come to an abrupt halt, you brain yourself presumably on that metal bar. Is that right?
Well, it's advisable not to do that in the first place.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So we learn all kinds of things from Steph.
Yeah.
We do. We do.
All right, let's move on quickly here. Try to get as many as we can knocked out on today's show. Stefan sent us some audio feedback.
Hello, Captain Jeff. Hello, whole 8.
Wait a minute, that's not very loud at all. Hang on. What is going on here? Let me check something over here. Huh. All right, we'll try it again.
Hello, Captain Jeff. Hello, whole AP.
No. Tell you what, Stefan, we'll play this in the next show. I think I tried to bump up the volume on that, and I must not have put that new file where it was supposed to be. So I'm going to continue on with number 5. Robert from Marietta, or as I like to call it, Marietta, near the Big Chicken. I found a friend who is a citizen. I have a friend who I found a friend who is a U.S. citizen. Oh, great! Let me know where they are. Let's see. Excuse me. I have a friend who is a U.S. citizen and works in the Cayman Islands. I was researching flight schedules to and from the Caymans and ended up reaching out to him to see what his options are should he need to fly back to the U.S., as the Caymans are under strict quarantine requirements from the government to limit the spread of COVID-19. All visitors to the Caymans are required to quarantine in hotels for 2 weeks upon arrival. He said at this point he would have to fly back on repatriation flights that are more or less private charters operated by Cayman Airways or British Airways arranged by the government. I included a link to one back in May below. My friend mentioned some flights may resume in October, but that is tentative. He may be able to return to the USA, but then not get back to the Caymans to work. I suppose there could be worse places to be stuck. Anyhow, I trust the crew is doing well. Stay safe. And then he sent us some links about the repatriation flights from the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, there could be worse places to be stuck. I was actually just reading an article the other day about folks who are able to work remotely and have reasonable means. And it sounds like, especially people from the Northeast, big cities, some of them have gone to places like Bermuda and other Caribbean locations.
It's all great until the hurricane.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Stephen. Oh, we know this guy. This is the guy that I spent about 10 days with, heading out to the West Coast on a grand road trip, seeing all kinds of great sights at national parks and such. He sent us some audio feedback. So let's hear what he has to say.
Hello, APG crew. Stephen Ivey, oh crap, I forgot that I have another job now. Let's just say the dude in Southern California or something. I was listening to not the show you just recorded today on the 20th, but the one before, and somebody had sent you some feedback about Pan Am, the game, and I actually bought the game when it first came out, and I've played it a pretty good bit. I think y'all were looking to see if it was really any good and all that. It's a pretty solid game. I'm a little biased though because I play a airline simulation game through on the internet, and it's pretty detailed as far as buying planes and stuff. So I'm a little biased, which I understand that this is a board game and not an internet-based game. But the game itself it's really simple. It only takes about 30 minutes or less to play. And if you have people that are actually paying attention that aren't on your phones, like certain children or teenagers, you can actually get it done in probably about 15 minutes. It's a super fast game. There's a lot of strategic thinking, especially if you're the first player, because that ultimately decides the rhythm for that round. So let me just give you a brief rundown of how the game works. So whoever goes first, you'll start by flipping over an event card that basically tells you what's happening in this round. You know, there's like a little bit of history about Pan Am or what's happening. And then you set the stock price, and then it tells you how many times you're going to roll the Pan Am dice, which tells you how much of what routes they're going to take over from, if anybody owns one, are just going to take over the empty route. So the stock is kind of the key of the game. The more Pan Am stock you have, the better chance of winning. So at the end of the game, it comes down to who owns the most Pan Am stock and who has the most money in the game. So essentially, you're running an airline to buy Pan Am stock. And at the same time, Pan Am is its own independent player that's trying to take over the world and put you out of business. So throughout the game, you're adding routes to the different cities in the world. And as you're rolling this Pan Am dice, it's taking over these same routes. So you're getting paid for this route, but if Pan Am takes it over, you essentially get paid almost double for whatever the route's worth. I think it's actually maybe even triple, but then you can take that money and reinvest it into the stock market. So that's the general part of the game. So when it's your turn, like I said, you flip the event card over, and then you have these engineers, which are essentially your movements. So you get a certain amount based on how many people are playing the game. So you've got, let's see, 5 different options you can select. You can put one on airports. So if you need to build an airport somewhere to connect 2 routes together, you can put up to 4 different ones on a destination to get landing rights for that city. You can put up to 4 down for different airplanes. So they have the tri-motor, the Clipper, the Cruiser, and the Jet, which tri-motor is a Ford tri-motor. The Clipper is a DC, it looks like a DC 2 or 3. The Cruiser is the Strato Cruiser, and then the Jet is the Boeing 707. And then you also have routes. So if you've got a city pair linked together, you need to actually spend one of your engineers to create the route. And then you also have these directive cards you can get that give you essentially power-ups, give you free airplanes, free landing rights, stuff like that. So where it gets strategic is if you're going first, the airports, the destinations, and the plane all have a price tag. And it all starts at the lowest amount, and it goes up in increments of either 2 or 3. So let's say you've got a destination you need to finish off your, your route, and you put it on a 0 because it goes at an increment. It goes 0, 2, 4, and 6. So you put it down on 0. Well, let's say we're playing with Captain Jeff here, and he just really needs that more than me. Well, he can put it on the 2, and he can pay $2 for that route, and then he can get it. Well, since he bumped my person off, I get to reposition it. So I can rebid it for $4, and then I get it. Well, let's just say Jeff's just going to be a really big jerk, and he's going to put it all the way at the top at 6. So he's going to pay $6 for that route, and ultimately he gets it because that's the most you can bid for it. And then I have to decide what to do with my engineer at that point, and that applies to the airplanes too. So if you are putting a route together, you need an airplane, and Dr. Steph needs the Clipper more than you do, and she outbids you. Well, she gets it and you don't. So to be honest, being the last player is actually the best because you can see what other people are doing and plan what to do from there. So after everyone puts their little engineers down, you start with the airports, resolve that. Then you resolve the destinations, resolve the airplanes. People form their routes, and then you put an airplane down on the there's a little spot in between the routes that tells you how much you're going to get paid, and all that. And then if you want a directive card, you can fill out your directive card. So once you do all that, you roll the Pan Am dice. So it essentially has I think it's a 6-sided dice. Yeah, 6-sided dice. And it's got different emblems for the different Pan Am routes. And depending on what you roll, it'll take over that section of route. So if there's nobody there, they basically just get that route. You can't take that city pair anymore. And if you own that city pair, you get compensated for the value of that route. And there's also a Pan Am logo. And if that gets rolled, you can sell any of your routes for whatever the value of the route is, and you can take that money. So once you do all that, you get to buy the stock at whatever the price is. Obviously, buy low, and then if you really need to, you can sell high. but you really don't want to because you want as much stock as you can get. So that's the general basis of the game. There's a little bit more detail as far as getting landing rights and routes and stuff. I'm not going to go into that because personally, I just don't want to explain it right now, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, it's a fun game if you have people that are really into aviation. If you're like me and your family isn't really into aviation, it isn't as fun. But I enjoy the game. It's definitely not what I thought it was, but I'd give it a solid probably 7 out of 10 as far as the rating goes. But one last tidbit for the game. The rules for who goes first is whoever flew last. So keep that in mind if you get this game. Make sure you go flying, and I don't think flight sims count for that. Anyway, quick update on me. Still here in Southern California. Still working for Acme Defense. I've been there about a month now. And I do stuff. Yes, that's what I do. I do stuff for Acme Defense, and I'm going to leave it at that. As far as the airline gig, I am flying next month. I got transferred out to a California base, and I'll be flying out of there next month. I accidentally bid too much and got a full schedule, so I was fortunate enough that other people would like to fly, so I got rid of the parts that I didn't want. And luckily, my airline actually approved a part-time policy, which will work out great for me since that's technically what I am doing now. So that's going to work out great. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the review of the Pan Am game, and I hope you are all doing well. Take care. See ya.
Wake up, Jeff. Wake up. We're still
am
here.
I?
We're still doing the show.
We're still doing the show?
Yeah.
No, we're just joking around, Stephen, sort of.
That was very detailed.
That was a lot of
explanation.
detail about the game. He is a detailed guy. And what kind of stuff are you doing out there in Southern California?
Stuff.
Come on. You can tell us. We're not going to tell nobody listens to this show, especially, well.
Yeah, especially people in defense, in governments and the CIA. Or would it be the FBI? I don't know.
Yeah.
Too much of an international
doing some
audience.
top secret stuff out there.
Can't tell you all.
One thing Stephen didn't say was whether he was any good at the game.
Well, the only thing I got from it is that Captain Jeff can be a jerk.
Yeah, and sometimes Jeff
That's what I
needs,
got from it.
You know, that airplane more than Jeff. So
Yeah, I think that we did spend too much time together on our trip out to California, which was great, by the way. Really have fond memories of that. So anyway, thank you, Stephen, for that. So if you have any more questions about the game, the Pan Am game, please, we'll give you Stephen's email address,
cell phone number,
and his cell phone number. Thanks, Stephen. We appreciate it, man. Yeah, we really love you a lot. Okay, let's see. Let's move on to 7. And Dave sent in, and I'm assuming that you're going to show this overlay, Miss Producer Director. This is sent in by Dave, and it's just a picture of like a screenshot from, actually it was a TikTok video that he sent me, so I just took a screenshot of it. And he says, a bit reminiscent of that old Twilight episode from listener Dave. And what did I say? Twilight Zone? Oh, I'm sorry, the old Twilight Zone, my bad. And so there's some pictures there of the TikTok video, and then also some screenshots or pictures of the actual Twilight Zone episode with the William Shatner. Yeah, a very young William Shatner inside the airplane and seeing this gremlin or monster or whatever you call it on the wing.
Old woman in a monkey suit.
Yes.
Shh. That's not at all what that is.
Come on.
Use your imagination.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it was reminiscent of the old Twilight Zone. Thank you. 8, Matthew sent us a YouTube video link to a guy with several very high-powered, pretty scary-looking weapons. And I guess he somehow acquired some windows from a 737, I believe he said. And he has them set up on some sawhorses and cinder blocks, and he fires very high-powered long-range sniper rifle weapons and other things at them to show you how strong these windows are. So if you're into that kind of thing,
I mean, I guess reassuring.
you love it. I guess. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I watched the whole thing, believe it or not. And yeah, it's kind of like Mythbusters, but not as interesting.
I think he needs to rename his show "Excuses for Firing My Big Gun."
That's probably more accurate.
Bill writes in. He says, "Good morning, Captain Nielsen." Ooh.
Now
I got my
are you
attention.
in trouble?
Yeah, I thought I was.
Okay.
As far as I know, I don't think so because I haven't been flying lately, so I think I'm okay.
Haven't been called into the
I
chief
haven't been
pilot's
called into
office
the chief
recently.
pilot's office in quite some time. I know you are more often called Captain Jeff, but since this is our first correspondence, forgive my formality. My son is a former airline pilot. Today, private jet setters employ his talents, so I guess he's a corporate pilot now. He listens to your podcast faithfully and has invited me to sit in with him from time to time. You and your co-hosts put on a very lively and informative broadcast. He must be talking about another show. Liz, I think,
Not
just
this one, obviously.
spit in her microphone. I think, I'm not sure what that sound was she just made. So I think she spit out some, were you drinking some coffee or something, tea, that you spit into the microphone? Oh, wine. Okay. Congratulations on your success. I'm contacting you because, like you, I'm a podcaster. My program is called Read My Shorts. Every week, I broadcast new original flash fiction, a complete story in 4 to 5 minutes. I focus on brevity in order to attract and keep the ADHD crowd.
So that's like if you made a Venn diagram of different podcast listeners, his would be like in one circle and ours would be in a completely different circle.
Ours would be
overlap.
completely encompassing.
Yeah.
Much larger.
His would be like a pimple on the side of our big
No,
circle.
they just wouldn't overlap at all because you got the HD crowd that can't stand more than 4 to 5 minutes, and ours it's like 3 hours. Fine.
My most well, they can't hear you, Liz, but that's an astute observation.
Yes.
Well, don't keep us in suspenders.
It had to do with Rick's lack of brevity in explaining topics.
Okay.
In-depth analysis. Yes.
Yes.
So let's see. I focus on brevity in order to attract and keep the ADHD crowd, which nowadays includes nearly all of us in our hurry up and get her done world. My most addictive feature, the thing that keeps listeners coming back every week for more, is my smack you in the side of the head with a brick ending. You will never, well, almost never, see the freight train roaring down the track before it runs over you. Promise. 2 weeks ago, I posted an episode, Flight 763, that's been getting a lot of plays. It's about a 32-year-old career pilot who is about to retire. But that sounds kind of familiar to me. It's been almost 32 years for me. But then something goes horribly wrong. His world is in chaos. Camelot, up in smoke. Sorry, you'll have to listen to the episode to hear what happens. All of that in 5 minutes.
Does he speak very fast or something, do you think?
I did listen to it. I actually didn't finish it because something distracted me.
Finish a 5-minute podcast.
I think I got about 2 minutes.
Listen.
You were having a particularly bad ADHD day, were you?
Horrible
Did not shake it.
I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
Who are you?
Who are you and where am I? Let's see. So we finally get to focus on my email. I've listened to a few Plain Tale segments on your program where you feature stories, sometimes anecdotal, and experiences of other pilots in your industry. Given that, would you be interested in playing my 5-minute episode, Flight 763, on one of your episodes? Perhaps it would be a nice out-of-the-box fit. a sidebar, if you will. If so, there's no fee, no copyright issues.
What do you mean, no fee? I get paid. Why shouldn't you?
All of my episodes are completely original. All I would ask for, groveling here, is perhaps a shout out, a plug, to invite your audience to tune in and give it a test flight. Catchy, eh? So obviously this is the correspondence that he sent me and wants me to play. I don't know. So if you're interested in us playing Flight 763 on a future episode, send us some feedback and let us know.
Wait, it's only 5 minutes?
Yeah.
We aren't going to play it now?
Well, no, because we only have, look at the time we have remaining in our 3-hour show. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time remaining. So,
Well, I want to hear it.
But, well,
Can I put my
I'm going
vote
to tell
in?
you, let me tell you how you can find his podcast. If you'd like to take a listen, you can find him on Spotify, Podbean, Anchor, and Stitcher. The search words are, and his name, Bill Rausch, R-A-U-S-C-H, Read My Shorts. So if you do a search for that, Bill Rausch, Read My Shorts on Spotify. That's what I did. I was listening to it on Spotify. I hope you like it. And while you're there, sit back, tighten your seatbelt, and take a gander at a few more. Maybe you'll be back every week too. So again, it's Read My Shorts, Bill Rausch.
Very cool.
And maybe if we get some feedback from some folks, we'll, or maybe next episode we can play.
Hey, give me a week off. Play 4.
Oh yeah, we can
There
do
you
that.
go.
Oh, now
Wait, are there
Nick's
4
thinking, wow.
aviation-related ones?
Yeah, I could.
Or even pseudo-aviation-related ones?
Yeah, so I just thought I'd make everybody aware of.
Or
Bill's.
just play that one, but play it at quarter speed.
That'll take up the.
Well,
Well, you know, it doesn't have to be a 20-minute segment. It could be a 5-minute segment. All right.
Yeah, I'm not going to have time to go out for a wee if it's only 5 minutes.
Well, okay. Look what we have here. Yes.
Oh my God, not him again.
Yeah. Dearest Jeff, I understand you'll be buzzing about the sky in a Boeing 717. To my uneducated eyes, it looks like a DC-9, the MD-80, MD-90, etc. The MD-80, MD-90, etc. are, I understand, derivatives of the DC-9, and the Mad Dog comes from the MD suffix. So the fact that the filthy cheapskate Boeing company grabbed control of the company and then just stuck their name on it goes against the aircraft. Now, to me, it looks like a Mad Dog, but it can't be one because of the dreadful actions of that awful Boeing company. So am I correct in assuming that the 717 can never be a Mad Dog? By the way, this is not the sort of behavior you would get from the heavenly Airbus people. So, is it a Mad Dog or is it not a Mad Dog? Love and kisses from Ivor.
Is it
Now-
not the MD-95?
Well, very, very good. You know, actually, the dirty little secret, the DC-9-10 I don't know if there's a 20 -30 -41 -50 are all DC-9s. The MD-80 is actually a DC-9-80. I flew a DC-9-88, a DC-9-90, but because McDonnell and Douglas came together at some point, they decided to rebrand the MD-80 series the DC-9-80 as an MD-80 and that series and the MD-90 series. And yes, you are correct, young lady. Where is it? Beautiful. We're above 50% finally. They decided to make an MD-95, but then that whole thing came about where Boeing bought McDonnell Douglas and they decided to rebrand it as a Boeing 717. And you are correct, sir, that the 717 looks suspiciously like a DC-9. In fact, it's almost identical in specifications as far as length, height, wingspan, almost everything except for maybe the engines, to a DC-9-30 series. I mean, within like inches in measurements. And so it's the engines on it, instead of the The venerable Pratt & Whitney JT8Ds on the 717 are an engine manufactured by BMW and Rolls-Royce called the BR770 or something like that, or 700. The BR, I guess, stands for BMW Rolls-Royce. I just learned that the other day when I was looking at some stuff. So, yeah, it's just a more modern DC-9. Thank you. That's a more modern DC-9-30. Basically, it much lower capacity, seating capacity than the Mad Dog. But you know what? Honestly, to me, it is a DC-9 or an MD-95. And in my heart, it's going to be another Mad Dog. So turns out I'm not going to be flying anything other than a Mad Dog, I guess. So, yeah. Great question, Ivor, and my producer director in Toronto, Ontario. Why I keep wanting to say California? I think it's because
I thought you were going to say Calgary. I was like, wait, you said Ontario already.
Yeah.
Ontario, California.
Yeah, and every time I think of Ontario, I think of California, and I see CA also for Canada. So, okay, Toronto, Ontario, Canada is telling me that it's time to wrap it up. So we're going to have to do that. We have several items in our feedback that we didn't get to today, including Stefan, because I screwed up the audio file. Sorry, Stefan. Chris sent us some feedback about fighting the fires in California. George Nolly sent us some good stuff, and Captain Joe as well. So stay tuned for the next episode where you can hear all of those great pieces of feedback, and maybe we'll hear yours. Mm-hmm. You can do that by sending
mine
feedback. Not yours, Nick.
Oh, okay.
People that are listening to the show. Yeah, the old curmudgeon, maybe he'll send us some feedback.
Nah.
No? Okay.
He's dead.
He's dead.
Wow. That's a downer.
I didn't realize that happened, but my condolences.
Well, he was a very unhappy fella.
He was. He was. No one wrote in to let us know. No one cared. They're like, well,
nope. He did not have a lot of love for us, that's for sure. Especially us Yanks. Anyway, so if you want to send some feedback to us, feedback at airlinepilotguy.com. We also have a website where we have a contact us page and SpeakPipe and other information about how you can send feedback to us, and information about the crew, the community. We have an APG library. We have merchandise. We have information about the coffee fund. We have a plain tales section. Excuse me. And got excited about that one. And
I got all choked up.
I got choked up. I really did. Plain tales. Sorry. And so much more. So check it out, airlinepilotguy.com. We're also on social media, or what we like to call
the social meets. So head over to Twitter. We're at APG Crew, at APG Crew on the Instagram, and also facebook.com/Airline Pilot Guy. Please join us and the community on your favorite platform. And I'm not sure how I feel about this, but I think Hillel's in my bathroom.
When I went to the bathroom earlier, I think I saw somebody hiding behind the shower curtain. Let me see. You turn on that. I put a microphone in there.
Oh, good. I feel great about that too. None of this is disturbing.
Hello, it's time for Slack.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. Just grab one of those towels if you can find one in there.
Don't drip water. Oh, too late.
Oh, yeah. Hillel, come on. You're making a mess. Be respectful.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and plain tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thank you very much, Hillel. And now you can try not to, get too many items in this lovely house wet on your way back to
Please.
Moisturizer. I think we have something about that here. Hang on. Where is it? Lotion.
Sorry, Jeff, I might have used all your skin lotion.
That's okay. It's Steph's.
That's okay. I ripped it off from Airlines. All the little amenity kits.
Yeah. Oh,
You're welcome to all of those.
What's funny about that is I think I might actually have to buy a real bar of soap one of these days because
Oh, no.
of my trips. I haven't
You've
had
run
a
out of
trip in a
hotel
while.
soap?
I'm running out of hotel soap. And with that thought, we'd like to thank, yes, times are tough. We'd like to thank our producer director in Toronto,
Hooray!
Ontario,
Thank you, Liz.
Canada.
Hard
Liz
job this
Piper.
show.
Yes, and for trying to direct us during this train wreck that we do every week. We do appreciate that, Liz. And until next time, we're wishing you all clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care and God bless.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Don't steal my towels there. Hello. I'm counting.
What?
Jeff, you've got to try these towels.
Oh, and one of our favorites, of course.
It's caught in my zipper, Jeff.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
All right.
Now we're a little over 3 hours this
things
week, but
happening
oh well.
there.
Oh, you better cut that down. I think there's a fair amount you can remove there.
There's a lot of.
Oh, man. Well, thanks everybody for joining us.
Putting up with this.
Putting up with us. I know. You know why? I think they just have pity on us. They feel, let's watch that sorry bunch of.
Yeah, they could use our charity.
Yeah. Because if it weren't for us, nobody would listen to them.
No.
You know?
No.
I mean, I'm talking for the people.
No, I know.
The live audience.
Mhm.
So let's bring Liz.
Oh,
back.
any suggestions on title this week?
I'm bringing you back in, Liz. Just a warning. Yeah, watch your language.
Oh.
All
I
right,
won't
there you
speak
go.
Canadian.
Oh.
Who is that?
We hear that we all throughout the show. It's like
It's the timer to let us know that we're done. We need to be
I
flipped
keep my
over,
timer going.
checked for.
she sets it at what, half an
30
hour,
minutes.
and
Yeah, it was every 30
hour
minutes.
every 30 minutes or something
Yeah,
like that.
every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
It's
how
funny.
she
The
knows.
first time I heard that, I thought, "Oh shoot, I forgot to turn the ringer off on my phone."
At least it's not my loon ringtone.
Loon ringtone. So I think they can hear. You can hear Liz now, right, Nick?
Yes. Okay.
Sadly, yes.
So show title suggestions. Anybody?
was
We were
N-
talking about Shaft something at the beginning.
Shaftesbury. Shaftesbury.
Were we?
Well, Nick
Yeah.
was.
Oh, okay. And his meetup.
Yes.
Audio. Okay.
What about something about her turning off the automation or something?
Turning off the automation. That would be easy to get artwork on.
You just need
Really?
a picture of an empty
No.
cockpit
I'm being
in the air.
facetious.
Oh, good.
Show title N1. N1. N-1. Oh, what does that mean?
I have no idea.
Okay, Owen. Owen wants us to go for another hour, so let's get back into it.
Fire it
No
up.
problem.
Pan Am game review.
Oh God,
Oh my goodness, Arnie.
that's too
I
good.
think we've had
Shouldn't
enough.
have
of
no
the
agenda
Pan Am
for
game.
us.
Stuff's fluffy towels.
Pan Am tread. Steph's fluffy towels. Possible. Small plane.
Only if Steph will give me a picture of her posing in a bathroom in a fluffy towel.
No.
Yeah,
No.
probably not going to happen.
No.
No, so that ain't gonna happen.
Oh, for all the engine failure stuff. I gotcha. N-1.
The producer speaks. Sometimes you call
Yeah.
that N-1.
I've never called it that, but I believe you. I hold boxes.
Are we referring to the compressor section N1? What is that in reference to? I'm still kind of
You
scratching
said
my
for
head
all
on
the
that one.
engine failure stuff.
Oh, N-1. Ah, gotcha.
You're down one.
Oh, okay. Very clever. I've never heard of that used that way.
No.
little over 3 hours. Why so short?
That's what she said.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Thank you.
Uh-oh. Carl said he skipped no agenda for the APG show.
I know.
Yeah,
that was a mistake.
Well,
That's
that
pretty
was his
brave.
problem.
Concerned.
Luckily, both of us record shows, so
Corrugated
I think this
tri-motors.
chat room's a better one, though. I think that he would agree. They kind of get a little serious in the other.
Mhm.
There's the loon. Did you do that on
That's
purpose, Liz?
I did.
Okay, I thought maybe somebody was calling.
No, nobody calls me.
Okay, call him.
Really?
So we don't have a lot of good ideas here.
No,
Nick, we can't.
that's a
seem
good
to
title,
help
though. So we don't really have a lot of good ideas here.
you. Look who's calling. Look who's calling me.
But we don't
That's
see
Who's
the
calling you?
Oh, okay.
Hold it up to the camera.
That's- Oh, sorry, Steph. I hung up on you.
Oh, how rude.
Oh, you're on the stream. Nope.
Oh. Good thing I wasn't picking my nose.
Yes, well, I made sure of that before I selected you.
I guess we'll have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll come up
nothing's
with something.
leaping to mind here.
So long, and thanks for all the flame outs.
I don't remember talking about any flameouts.
No, we just talked about presumed engine failures.
We had a lot of engine failures in the news in this one.
There's a pip on my shoulder.
Presumed.
That's very
Alleged.
good, Lane.
Alleged. I mean, I'm not sure how.
What'd you say, Nick?
There's a pip on my shoulder.
A pip on your shoulder.
Yes, with a very
He's very
disdainful
reproachful
look.
looking. Yeah,
Mhm.
like he's very unimpressed with whatever it is that you're doing.
Almost
in the moment.
disappointed.
Yeah.
Get your hands off my plane.
He's like, I see you. I see what you're doing there, but I don't agree with how you're doing it.
Now, Lucas, is that a show title? A Flash of Liz? Or is that just
That's-
something
Yeah.
that you're commenting
Burn
on?
all our money.
Yeah. Burn all our money.
Yeah.
With just a photograph of a $20 bill on fire.
Pip on my shoulder.
Found a friend.
Look, it's 007. Nigel. Found a friend. I'm not quite sure what that reference is to.
I'm not seeing that. Where is that?
Oh, it's up there.
Oh.
There, look at the screen.
I'm looking at the screen.
Well, I've just put it on the screen.
Oh. That's great. Oh, found a friend. I thought you said something else. Something like 007.
Yeah, he looks like 007.
Oh,
you not see
now I get it. Okay.
He does.
I was
very
looking for the
dapper.
writing.
Ah,
007.
okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
How much of what?
It's not a show
What about
title.
the 100?
And I'll tell you later.
The 100-pound hamburger.
100
about
pounds.
100-pound hamburger. I like that.
I could
Do
do the
you
word.
guys refer to it as a $100 hamburger or a 100-pound hamburger?
Well, I actually call it $100 hamburger.
Yeah, because a
But,
100-pound hamburger sounds very heavy.
Very
Like,
heavy.
difficult
exactly
to
what
get.
I was going to do as a picture. A vast,
I
great
actually like
big
that.
Hamburger.
100 pound.
Do
I
it.
like that.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
I like it.
Perfect.
Thanks, all.
Yeah. Thanks for your help.
Excellent.
Okay.
Good job.
Well, yep. Did
Sorry.
somebody just say Jeff?
Yep.
Who?
We'll talk.
Nick.
No. Yes, sir.
I don't think I
Oh.
said
No, I
anything.
thought somebody said
I
Jeff.
heard it too.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm hearing voices.
And the
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
we're not
let's-
really on a show, Jeff. This is all in your imagination.
Yes, I'm very
this
furtive.
is a dream sequence.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Thanks, everyone. We'll say hi to Colonel Jeff for you tomorrow.
Will do.
And I'm sure we'll have a full report on the goings-on the next episode, next week, whenever that is.
Absolutely.
We're not sure. No.
To be decided here
Yeah.
shortly, probably.
All right.